What's up, chat? How's it going, everybody? It is a perfect day today because we are going to be talking about the Emperor's Children. The Emperor's Children Codex, fully dropped. I don't know what happened to my background music again, chat. So I'm going to fix that. I don't know what's happening to me. Hopefully that's okay. All right, well, hopefully that works. We'll see. Yeah, Emperor's Children Codex fully released online. If you caught us over on Tactical Tuesday, yesterday, we talked about a little bit of it, but today we're going to go through the whole thing. Now we have every data sheet, all the detachments ready to discuss, and that's what we're going to do. So I hope everyone's ready for that. I know that there's a lot of emotions surrounding, an excess of emotions, you could say, surrounding this codex. A lot of people feel very strongly about its power level. I think it's very early to tell. One thing, obviously, as we always do at the start of these codex discussions, is that I think it's important to keep in mind that final points are not out yet. As we saw with many codexes recently, Astra Militarum, I think, being the biggest example. A lot of times the points of the codexes are super wrong. So we're not really going to be talking about that in context of the internal balance of the codex and the cost of various units, because we don't know what those are. They could be different than what it says in the leaks so far. But otherwise, we can talk about what's going on in this thing. And yeah, let's hop in. Clip: we should run a battle report live. It's me versus someone in a hot tub. Each goal has me dunking a mini. Sounds excessive. All right, cool. Let's dive in, chat. So actually, what I want to do is I'm actually going to start by pulling up the Warhammer community, because we want to talk about the army rule momentarily. So Warhammer community has previewed a bunch of this stuff. But obviously it's important to discuss the army ability Thrill Seekers. So let's do that. Here we go. All right. So real quick, this is the context by which we should be discussing. Oh yeah, this isn't Zoom. Thanks, Warhammer community. The context by which we should be discussing all of these data sheets, because one thing that Emperor's Children have in spades is speed. They are fast as fuck, boy. In where they may lack a little bit of hitting power, they do have a very strong, consistent threat range, and that obviously varies greatly depending on the detachment that you're playing. So, if you are playing Emperor's Children, your Thrill Seekers units, which are most of the Chaos Space Marines, I don't remember if the Demon data sheets have it. I don't believe they do, but we can double check once we're looking. You can fall back and advance and charge. However, you cannot charge or attack a unit that was already attacked that phase. So, you have the capacity at any time to advance and do whatever you want, essentially. However, you have to use this ability sparingly, because if you do it all the time, you're going to run out of targets really quickly, because you're going to start duplicating targets on individual units. So what this army wants to play is like big bricks of things that are going to function independently, so you don't necessarily need any friends to come along with you. It's not going to be super good at alpha striking a unit with your entire army, because that's very difficult to do with these restrictions. But obviously, if you do have that high base movement characteristic, you are going to be able to utilize it pretty effectively over the course of the game. And I think for the most part, this is going to be... Oh, what's up, Ryan G?
Donated $5 through Super Chat. Is it a hot take to say new Lucius is amazing? Also, Lucius versus Mephiston 5 turns slap fight 20.
I don't think it's a hot take to say the new Lucius is amazing. Ryan G, thank you for the super chat, buddy. As always, nice to see you in the chat here. I don't think that's a hot take. We talked about him briefly yesterday. The new Lucius the Eternal data sheet's great. I think especially in concert with Flawless Blades. But we'll talk about what Flawless Blades do in a sec, because that's where I think a lot of the melee damage from this army is going to be coming. Yeah, we can advance and charge our stuff. A lot of times what you want to be doing is like sort of early game, you want to be moving your units as often as possible and advancing a few units. What you can do is, like, for example, move most of your army, then advance 1 or 2 units, then start by attacking those with those units, and the other stuff that did not need to advance and do stuff is going to be able to shoot normally without this restriction. So you can play around it, I think, pretty effectively. It's a strong army ability, but obviously it does require a little bit of intelligent play. But what I do like is I think that this codex, one thing that they have done really well here is infuse the Slaaneshi flavor into this codex quite a bit. I think Eldar was an interesting kind of mechanical exercise where they did a lot of fun things with the 40k like core rules. Emperor's Children feels a little bit more like they were trying to stretch their narrative design wings a little bit, because there are some detachments in this codex that are on fucking point in terms of the theme of the army. Don't like the trend of allied datasheets and codexes being ass and badly implemented. It's just like most of the Ynnari Drukhari. That feels like a hot take, Jean-Marc. I feel like the Ynnari stuff specifically is like, it's almost better than the standard Ynnari stuff, right? Because you get the army ability out of Eldar. The downside is that the basic datasheets for Drukhari are, on the whole, not very good, which is a little bit of a problem, I guess. All right, let's start by discussing the Carnival of Excess. So there are demons in this codex, and we'll discuss the demon datasheets after we talk about this detachment. This is, at least to my knowledge, the only way, however, that we can include demons into the army. So Slaanesh demons are included with their own datasheets, and you can ally them in. However, you have to have this Legion of Excess rule in order to do so. And I believe this is the only detachment that actually brings that rule to your army. So what do you get when you play the Carnival of Excess? Your Emperor's Children and Slash Demon units empower each other while they're within 6 inches of each other. While you're empowered, all your weapons gain sustained hits 1. If you already have sustained hits 1, you get critical 5s. So that's pretty good. And I do think that there's the capacity for this army to play some, I think, probably like a focus on the Emperor's Children units with a couple demon allies in order to support them. Things like Seekers of Slaanesh and Fiends are just fine. But a lot of the other Slaaneshi demon datasheets are depowered in this codex compared to their entries in the demon index. So it's a little difficult to justify paying a ton of points for them. But again, if it's a thing where, like, if the points are right, I think that you can definitely take some of the bigger monsters and the Keepers of Secrets and stuff like that. Technically, Demon Princes and Fulgrim are demons. You know what, chat? You're right. You're right, for sure. Carnival gets 1,000 points of demons, but as it stands, you can still soup in 500 points of index demons. That is fascinating. That doesn't do anything for you, right? But I guess you can just take, like, the Shalaxi Hellbane out of the index instead of the Shalaxi Hellbane out of the codex. I'm sure that there will be a day one FAQ, though. That sounds like something that's probably going to change. That would be interesting. If a unit's weapon had sustained hits 2 with the 5 of critical hits apply. That's actually a great question, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. Are there any sustained 2 in the codex? I don't know if the numerical modifier on a keyword counts as a different keyword or like a variant of the original. I would hazard to guess that it doesn't, but I don't know that for sure, and I think I would need to do more research. Is the long answer? You can't shoot Shalaxi because you run out of demonets, I guess. You don't have a battle line. Yeah, that's fair. Whoopsies. Cool. Anyway, so you can take up to half your army being Legion of Excess units, so 1,000 points per Strike Force game. It's to empower your Chaos Space Marines in the army. In terms of enhancements, we have a 6-inch heroic intervention for free within 6 inches. It's any Slaanesh unit, which is literally everything in the codex. So all the demons, all the Chaos Space Marines, all have this Slaanesh keyword, so they're all going to be able to benefit from that. Pretty neat. Dark Blessings gives you a once per game after you've been targeted 3+ invulnerable save. It is infantry only, so you can only use it on your Emperor's Children Marine body guys. You can't put it on Demon Princes and stuff, which is sad, but still a totally fine enhancement, just to get yourself stuck in for another turn. Possessed Blade is really, really cool. You get +1 attack to your weapons, and you can overcharge that weapon for +1 damage, Devastating Wound, Hazardous. This is like a windmill slam, I think, a lot of times. Just getting your weapons up to 2-3 damage is pretty solid. Devastating Wounds is already great, and you're just compounding the number of attacks you have. So yeah, nothing bad to say about Possessed Blade. Hazardous is very cute as well. Again, I love it's a little flavor thing. Whoever remembers like old school demon weapons back in the day where you would like choose to make a pact with the demon in the demon weapon and take a leadership test, and if you passed it, you got like a number of attacks equal to the leadership test or whatever, and if you failed it, you like died. It's on that, you know, it's we're calling back to those old possessed weapons way back in the day. How does it work in Phalanx? Phalanx? Who's a Phalanx? Warp Walker is the last one. You can put it on a Keeper of Secrets model. It gives you auto 6 advances, which is pretty nice. It's for the entire unit, so it allows Emperor's Children models to like advance and charge. With the auto 6 with an entire unit of like Flawless Blades or something, which is pretty neat. You also can move through enemy models. That's a little bit of a theme in the army. There's a lot of ways to move through enemy models. I wonder if I think they were maybe worried about stuff being screenable too easily. Like if you bubble wrap your army and the Chaos Space Marines can advance and charge, but they can only advance and charge at one thing at a time. It makes it easier to bypass those screens if you are able to move over them. I don't know how often it's going to matter. I have a sneaking suspicion that it won't. It doesn't work on charges. It's normal, advance, and fallbacks. But I don't know. I think that might be might be the idea. It's a difficult ability to get a lot of use out of, generally speaking, especially if you're not a super duper fast model. Oh, LBS and Phalanx. That's a good question. For some reason in my head, I was like, Phalanx sounded, I don't know, maybe I'm not Necron pilled today. So I was like, oh, the AdMech detachment? What the fucking AdMech detachment? There's no Phalanx AdMech detachment. They're all about cohorts. That's Roman. That's not Greek. Let's talk about some stratagems. Sustained by Agony lets you regenerate Legion of Excess stuff. You can get 3 wounds back, or D3+3 Demonettes back after an Emperor's Children unit destroys a unit. It's good for the Demonette regeneration. I don't know how often you're going to have a lot of wounds remaining on your Keepers of Secrets. I'm going to be honest with you. The Keepers of Secrets feel like they might die really fast in this army, but we'll see. Ecstatic Slaughter is a really interesting one. After a Legion of Excess unit, so a demon in your army destroys an enemy unit, you can target an Emperor's Children unit within 6 inches, and your Emperor's Children unit can declare a charge. As long as it's not within engagement range, and I believe that it can, like, for example, just advance or like run up into an area and then do like charge after that, or even charge after you've completed a failed charge, or if you've engaged a unit with 2 things, you can kill it with Legion of Excess unit, then recharge with the second unit. This might need some clarification because I'm not 100% sure if you can do it if you've already charged in the same phase. Like if I don't know if it checks whether or not you're eligible to charge if you're charging in the fight phase, but it is a very interesting stratagem. How often you're going to be murdering people with the Slaanesh demons, I don't know, but I do think that a correct usage of this stratagem will probably just win you the game. I imagine. So Necrons, I looked at the OBS and Phalanx real quick to answer the question earlier. And they do not have, as far as I can see, they do not have an identical effect. The 5-up critical hit stratagem in Necrons is not contingent on anything. You just get it. So it's not the same. Ecstatic Slaughter. We already talked about. Violent Crescendo is the next one. It gives you 6-inch Pile and Consolidate, and you can end the Pile and Consolidate moves as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. So you don't have to go towards the closest enemy model. We talked about this a little bit when we discussed those other Harlequins. Harlequins have a very similar ability that allows you to pile and consolidate in base contact with anyone in the unit that you're consolidating towards, basically as long as you base them, which just gives you a ton of extra positioning on where your melee fighters go. It works on beast, infantry, and mounted units, so you can use it on essentially any non-monster vehicle in the whole faction, I believe is like how it works. It's basically everything, because everybody has the Slaanesh keyword, which is good. In terms of beasts, I think that's just fiends and spawn. Mounted, I believe, is just seekers. I don't think that we don't have any bikers or anything, which is a little bit sad. Sycophantic Surge is the next one. Until the end of the phase, you're able to declare a charge in which you advanced or fell back on a Legion of Excess unit, provided the target of the charge is within engagement range of one or more Emperor's Children units from your army. So if you lead the charge with a Chaos Space Marine, you can bring the demons with you, even though they may be a little bit slower. Uncanny Reactions gives you -1 to be hit in the shooting phase, and Dark Apparitions gives you an uppy downy on a Demonette unit. And it can come back using Deep Strike or 6 inches away from enemy units, provided it is also wholly within 9 inches of an Emperor's Children unit. You can then charge out of that. It doesn't restrict charging. And you can still get demonic instruments and stuff inside the Demonette units. So for 2 CP, it is quite a bit, but you can basically just deliver a Demonette unit directly into melee, which is cool, which is neat. Although they are only OC1 in this detachment, which is a little bit sad. So with that, folks, let's talk about the Demon Datasheets real quick and exactly what we can be using inside this army. What's up, baby kitty? Inky's here to come tell you about her excess of sleep that she gets. Want to come up and say hi to chat? All right. Ooh, no, not today. All right, that's fine. Maybe she'll hop up later. All right, we got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Spawns, spawns are beasts to my knowledge, and the spawn datasheet in Emperor's Children is actually incredible. So we'll probably see 2 to 3 chaos spawn units in all these lists, pretty reliably, I think. So some big changes to the demon datasheets out of from the demon index. So we have Shalaxi Hellbane here, same top line profile, but we're missing a bunch of abilities. We don't have a Feel No Pain. We're still using Deep Strike. We don't have Thrill Seekers, so no built-in advance and charge. They do get reroll, advance, and charge rolls. And again, you can use this stratagem if you already engaged something to get Shalaxi to advance and charge in Carnival of Excess. So the reroll, advance, and charge rolls can be pretty useful. However, their reroll ability has been changed significantly. It's now Monarch of the Hunt. At the start of the first battle round, you select an enemy unit to be the quarry. You get hit and wound rerolls, not damage rerolls, against the quarry, and then you choose a new quarry every time the quarry is destroyed. Importantly, Shalaxi doesn't have to be the one to kill the quarry in order to choose a new one. So you can actually get a lot of control over it by choosing a stupid unit. It's the first battle round, so you know who's going first, and you can see where your opponent's stuff is deployed. So if they put infiltrators or something that you can just get at, you can be like, that's my quarry, and then kill them, and then replace it somewhere else. That's a little bit more useful. I guess, although I guess you could just deploy, choose the second unit to begin with, but you can set it up so that you can have the opportunity to switch the quarry sometime during the game if you choose it correctly. However, the other thing is that the quarry also can be anything. Previously, Shalaxi Hellbane only got benefits against character, monsters, and vehicles. So if they got stuck in with a bunch of infantry, they actually kind of sucked. But now you can get rerolls all the time. Although the rerolls do only affect the melee attacks, not the ranged attacks as well. The ranged attacks are all the same as the Demon Index. However, the spear has gone down 2 points of strength. So overall, also it doesn't have the cloak. She doesn't have the constricting cloak that gives you -1 attack. So, like, way easier to kill. Like, literally twice as easy to kill as they are in the Demon's Index, and their damage output's not quite as good, and they don't have access to Draught of Terror for +1 AP. So it's a tough sell for Shalaxi. We'll see if the points are good, and I think there's a lot of the trend of these big monsters in this faction is like really fast, kind of mid toughness, like very mid defensive stats. I guess I got a 3+ armor save, which is what the shield ability is now. It doesn't get the feel no pain anymore. It's an armor save, which isn't as good. But like really fast, but kind of like mid strength attacks. So a lot of the Emperor's Children, like these big centerpiece units, are kind of more focused on delivery than they are like actually getting the damage done when they get there, which I think has gotten a lot of people a little bit worried. Whether you take Shalaxi Hellbite, I don't know. I guess you do. Like a lot more often than not, you're going to get sustained hits on these attacks, and you're getting hit rerolls, so that's actually kind of nice. Because you're going to be empowered when you're playing it in the Carnival Detachment. You also have access to like that advance and charge. You have healing, so it is synergistic, but it definitely is not the Shalaxi we remember from Chaos Demons. Keeper of Secrets is kind of the same idea. You can improve the armor save to a 3+ by taking the shield, but it lost its Feel No Pain. It still keeps its -1 to be hit from all attacks, and it keeps its +1 AP aura for Chaos Demons. But it is only demon units. It doesn't affect your Chaos Space Marines. But otherwise, I believe that this is identical. I don't think that this has changed whatsoever. Next up, we have Demonettes. They are still battle line, but they lost a pip of OC. They do have fights first baked in, but their ability is way different. This is kind of I guess like a good objective holder unit. The low OC is a little bit weird, but you can't really charge them without taking some damage on the way in, which is it's all right. At the start of each fight phase, each enemy engagement range of one or more Demonette units have to take a battle shock test and -1 if they're below half strength. That kind of is whatever. It means that it's really difficult to take objectives from them because they could just like make you take a battle shock test, turn off all of your like stratagems, and then hit you, which is kind of cute. But I don't know if we're that excited about a bunch of like strength 4 AP1 attacks doing a ton. However, they do still get that instrument for +1 to charge. So the ability to like use them as a disruption piece in Carnival of Excess is pretty exciting because you can pay the 2 CP strat. You can just dump them like from your backline into your opponent's home objective or whatever. And the only restriction on that deep strike being 9 inches away from your / Chaos Space Marine units is actually pretty flexible. Severe lack of Feel No Pain in the Codex. Yeah, I think one thing that we're probably trying to do is like mechanically differentiate Slaanesh a little bit more from the other Nurgle, from the other Nurgle, from Nurgle, from Nurgle and Khorne, because Khorne, both of those Chaos Gods, Nurgle, like resilience is the name of the game, but like realistically, Keepers of Secrets in Chaos Demons are like actually just harder to kill than unbuffed Great Unclean Ones. And that's just like weird and strange, and it feels like should not be the case. Keepers of Secrets should be faster and hit harder, but much easier to kill. And I think that's what they're trying to do here. Like Slaanesh has previously had this like theme of like being this like glutton for punishment and absorbing damage, but it has basically just as soon as you make Slaanesh resilient at all, it just dominates out all like the other sort of chaos marks. And I think what they're trying to do is make them hit harder and be faster but be easier to kill. But it does feel like a lot of these big monsters and stuff would be served by having some sort of defensive effect. Fiends, I don't believe are changed at all from the Chaos Demons Index. 5 up invuln save, 4 wounds, OC2, move 12. 5 devastating wound, 2 damage attacks. They give you -1 to hit if you are not a monster or vehicle. I believe that used to say vehicle or Titanic, actually. So I think that has been changed a little bit from the index version of this ability. And you have to take desperate escape checks when falling back. If you're battle shocked, you get -1. So pretty standard stuff. Getting sustained hits on this profile is actually kind of nice because it's a pretty high impact profile. So if this unit's empowered, they're actually kind of dangerous. Downside is they don't have like the rerolls that you get in Legion of Excess. The detachment, not the faction keyword. So yeah, I don't know how exciting that is. Seekers of Slaanesh. These I think will be, if you have the opportunity to play them, I think you'll be playing them because they're a great utility unit. I don't believe that these are changed from the Demon Index either. They have a 9-inch scout, reroll advance and charge rolls, +1 to charge. They're like ridiculously fast, really good forward operators, good at sweeping infantry. So not much to say about Seekers. You probably just take them if you're in Carnival. I don't know. Seems good. And those are all the demons. That is it for demons, chat. And again, we can only take these data sheets in that detachment. So yeah, any of the other detachments that don't have that lead, that I think it's the Pact of Excess rule, does not allow you to take them. So these are very much not Emperor's Children units proper. They are kind of like their own thing. The sub benefit of taking the detachment is that you also get access to those data sheets, which I guess is okay. I don't know. It depends on how you feel about it. I think that the lighter stuff is probably pretty playable, but I don't know who's super excited about taking like the easy to kill Keeper of Secrets or whatever. Especially in the consideration of the fact that you are getting like you already have sort of similar profiles elsewhere in the faction. Fulgrim is basically another Keeper of Secrets. Spoiler alert, I guess. So I think Inky would make a Dark Pact with Slaanesh to live deliciously. I think Inky. Oh, I'm sorry, I bumped my microphone. Ooh. I think Inky would probably make like a Nurgle pact or something. She's very slothful. Oh, okay. Maybe she took offense at that. So she might be a. Realistically, I think Inky would go the 5th route and would like serve under Bellicor. The Lord of Shadows is appropriate for this cat who is just a living void. Inky is a Keeper of Secrets. Death Guard and Nurgle Demons are still lacking in resilience. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think Nurgle Demons, like Nurgle Demon data sheets, actually being survivable, they just like they do weird stuff. It's a weird sub-faction. It feels like it wants to be the super tank sub-faction. I do think that Death Guard are like legitimately not that easy to kill. I mean, so look at the list we talked about on Monday on the best armies in 40k video. Tell me you can easily kill that army, and I'll tell you that you're probably wrong. I do think it does feel strange though, because it does feel like Great Unclean Ones do feel like a pip but easier, like too easy to kill, because like their Feel of Pain needs to be +1, or you need to have a pip of toughness in there or something. But I think I'm speaking as a not unbiased party, essentially. Inky is Malal. Yeah, she was up on my chair actually, like last night. I was trying to go to sleep. She like climbed up on the chair and she like looked directly at me. It's just like, I'm gonna scratch this. What are you gonna do? And I'm like, God damn it, cat! It's like 4 a.m. I just want to go to sleep. What are you doing this? All right, let's talk about some more detachments. Mercurial Host makes you really fast. You can reroll advance rolls for your units. It's pretty straightforward. This was really easy. It's kind of the most straightforward detachment. I think that probably makes it one of the easier ones to get started in. Given the fact that everything can advance and shoot and charge all the time, as long as you obey the restrictions that Slaanesh has imposed upon you for doing so, then getting reroll advance rolls all the time is great. Like, basically, it's very rare you roll a 1 on your advance roll. You probably are even rerolling 2s and maybe 3s. So you have a pretty solid shot at getting above average advance rolls and improving significantly your your capacity to engage with enemies. Enhancements, we have Steeped in Suffering. You get +1 to hit against enemies below starting strength, +1 to wound against enemies below half strength. It's pretty good. Importantly, it affects the bearer's entire unit. This is, I think, particularly good if they have a Legionary equivalent. If you're taking like those guys, I think that's pretty solid. Getting those guys to hit on 2s and maybe wound on 4s or 5s on most targets is actually pretty impressive. So that's a solid one, especially if you can shoot on your way in, which oftentimes you'll be able to do. Intoxicating Musk is the next one. Each time a melee attack targets the bearer's unit, you get the bodyguard rule. So if the strength is greater than your toughness, you get -1 to be wounded. Also a good one. It is only melee, it doesn't affect your shooting, but given the fact that your army is going to be engaged basically in your opponent's face most of the time, I think this is going to be a solid one. So again, 2 pretty straightforward, pretty easy enhancements. Tactical Perfection is a redeployment. You get up to 2 Emperor's Children units redeployed at the start of the battle, and they can go to strategic reserves. Last, and certainly not least, is Loathsome Dexterity. Each time you make a normal advance or fallback move, you can move through enemy models. Again, same deal. Enemy models, we can go through them. Which again, I don't know if it is actually like that relevant, but it's there. I don't know. That's probably the one you don't take, if I were to hazard a guess. Violent Excess is the first stratagem. Gives you sustained hits 1 in melee. Easy peasy. Combat Stims is 2 CP, but it gives your unit -1 to be wounded in melee. Again, really easy. Honor the Prince. When you advance, you go 6 inches for 1 CP. Easy. Like I said, this detachment is very straightforward. You go really fast and you punch people. That's it. That's what's going on. Dark Vigor is a little cut off here. I apologize. Can I get it? Can I schlep it over? Maybe like that. Dark Vigor is a reactive move. If an enemy moves 9 inches away, you can move up to 6 inches for 1 CP. It doesn't work on beasts and vehicles, which is a little bit sad. Although Chaos Spawn already have this baked in, actually, which is great. So, but nothing bad to say about a 6-inch reactive move. Like, what? Okay, sure. So we can like run our army forward, disembark our transports, charge, blow something up. Their opponent goes to kill you, and then your reactive move back into the transport. And that's like, probably just the bare bones interaction you can do with that. Capricious Reactions, -1 to be hit from shooting attacks. This works on anything, by the way. It is just an Emperor's Children unit, so you can use it on Land Raiders, you can use it on vehicles, you can like stack it with Smokescreen, you can put it on Demon Princes and stuff. I guess that works on everything. Right? Oh no, the Combat Stims is infantry only, I guess. Cruel Raiders is the last one. You can up B Downy if you're not within 3 inches of an enemy and you are wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge to go do secondaries and things, which is fine. That one's nice. It's a little tough to use. You go into Strategic Reserve, so if you have Deep Strike baked in, it also works on everything. So you can actually like do some weird funky stuff with like some of the demons, I think. Where you can, not the Slaanesh demons, like the Chaos Space Marine Demon Princes and stuff, that have Deep Strike, because you can, if you're next to the battlefield edge, you can then Deep Strike them back on, which is cute. So there's probably some more interesting stuff you can do with that than it seems like on the table. The Strategic Reserve uppy downies don't tend to be super strong, but there are going to be ways to use them. Uppy downy a Maulerfiend. Go get him, boy! Arr, arr. Yeah. Reactive uppy downs. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. You could like reactive move if you have 2 CP floating. You can reactive move off to like next to the table edge and then up it. That's cute. Yeah, this detachment. I think this would probably be, if I were to recommend somebody a starting detachment, it would probably be this one because it's so straightforward. You have an offensive buff. You have two defensive buffs in shooting and fight phase. You have reactive move. You have a throw range enhancer, and you have like a tactical ability. Done. And then some pretty simple enhancements, easy peasy, and a detachment rule that's not very difficult to forget or to remember. Love it, chat. Speaking of detachment rules that are not difficult to remember, let's talk about this brick of text for Coterie of the Conceited. This is, I think, one of my favorite detachments from a purely flavor perspective that I think 10th edition has ever given us. It's so fucking cool. Is it good? Alright, I guess. But is it cool? Yes, incredibly, incredibly cool. Here's how it works. At the start of the battle round, if your warlord is on the battlefield, you must pledge. You must. It's actually not an optional ability. You must pledge a number to Slaanesh representing how many enemy units will be destroyed this battle round. Importantly, it is if your warlord is on the battlefield. So if you put him in a transport or something, you can actually dodge the ability in the early game. So if you don't want to fail your pledges, you can keep your warlord off the battlefield. That's important to keep in mind. But as soon as they get off the transport, Slaanesh calls them on their cell phone. He's like, "Hey, you finally have reception. How many guys are you going to kill this turn?" So you make a pact with Slaanesh. You determine a number of enemy units that you're going to destroy that battle round. If you destroy equal to or more than that number of enemy units by the end of that battle round, you gain pact points, which will unlock special abilities based on this chart. If you don't do that, your warlord takes D3 mortal wounds. So if you don't meet the pledge, then you are taking damage. And then as soon as your warlord dies, whether your opponent kills them or they take enough damage from failing pacts, then you still retain the abilities that you have. However, you cannot generate any more pact points. So once your warlord is dead, that is it for you, and I'm very, very sorry. Can you pledge 0? Can you? Oh, I guess you can. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say that you can't, I guess. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Pledge a negative number, whatever. Doesn't say you pledges. You pledge a like an integer value, right? All right. Well, fair enough, chat. Easy peasy. You just have to pledge, but it doesn't matter what you pledge. Strat lets you get more pledge points even after your warlord is dead. I guess that is true. You could get one at a time. If your warlord's dead, I suppose. Enhancements. Pledge of Eternal Servitude gives you a regeneration on a leadership test, so a little bit different than the 2+ that you normally have. If you pass the test, you get D6 wounds remaining at the end of the phase. Pretty normal stuff. Pledge of Dark Glory gives you +1 leadership and objective control. It's all right too. Pledge of Mortal Pain is a weird one. Starting a shooting phase, you select one enemy unit within 12 inches of and visible to the bearer. The enemy unit takes a leadership test. If it's battle shocked, you get -2. And there's a little couple battle shock synergies in here because I think they're trying to like make Noise Marines into this battle shocking unit, but I don't know if it will succeed. We'll see, I guess. If the test is failed, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, or excuse me, flat 3 mortal wounds. However, it is not a battle shock test itself. It only gains benefits if the target is battle shocked. So if they fail the leadership test, the only downside they receive is the 3 mortal wounds. But it also doesn't require you to actually have selected your unit to shoot, so it doesn't like mess up your targeting for your thrill seekers, like advancing shoot ability and stuff. Pledge of Unholy Fortune is the next one. The last one. This one's pretty good, and by pretty good I mean extremely good. It turns you into Infernal Master once per turn after making a hit roll, wound roll, or saving throw for a model in the bearer's unit, not even just the bearer itself. If you are not battle shocked, you can turn that roll to a 6 once per turn. What a good enhancement! That one's really, really strong. That one you windmill slam every time, almost certainly. Now on the flip side, we do have some pretty strong stratagems in this detachment. So our army ability, or our detachment ability, if you destroy enemy units, you can be getting reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. If you get up to 3 units and generate 3 pledge points. Once you get up to 5 and 7+, it kind of goes crazy. You get lethal and sustained hits in melee on a 5, and on 7 you get 5-up criticals. So if you're able to pledge for that long and kill a bunch of enemies, you're looking phenomenal. And then we're also backing that up with a pretty good section of stratagems here. We have protection against saves and mortal wounds. You get a 6+ feel no pain when an attack is allocated to you. So importantly, the timing of that's really weird. It's not when you're targeted by an effect. It's when you go to take the saving throw is when the attack gets allocated. So if your opponent fast rolls their attacks, you can actually know how much damage is incoming. You can't do it after you've rolled any saves, or you can do it like halfway through the attack activation, I guess, if you really want to. But you can't do it like after you fast rolled all your saves, I guess, is the idea. But a lot of times you're going to be able to see how many wounds your opponent's handing you. So if they're like, hey, I spiked my dice and like here's like 12 AP2s, you're like, well, I'll give myself a 6-up feel no pain before I start rolling and try to blank these, which is cute, right? I think that's really cool. It also gives you a 4+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. That's a pretty solid defensive strat. 6-up feel no pain is not great, but you can use it on anything. So it could be on Land Raiders or Fulgrim or stuff with a billion wounds in it. Unshakable Opponents gives you ignore modifiers, ballistic skill, weapon skill, characteristic, hit roll, or wound roll. Doesn't affect damage roll modifiers, which is unfortunate, but it lets you push through like stealth, bodyguard, like bodyguard abilities, that kind of stuff, which is nice. Poor Death Guard will get blown up by this one for sure. It's a 1 CP safe word. Adorable. If the Warlord is killed by the Pact, do you get Slay the Warlord? I almost always stuff that pledge buy. Every time you pledge, you want to pledge 4. First, you pledge 3 point. What is it? 3.24 or whatever. 3.131. God damn it. It's been a long time since high school chat. I don't remember what pi is. 14159, is that right? 3.14159, I think that's right. So generally speaking, everything that requires you to kill the Warlord only considers if your Warlord is destroyed. It doesn't matter whether or not you are the one to have killed them. So I don't know in specific what ability you're talking about, but I think almost across the board, everything just triggers when the Warlord is destroyed. So if you kill your own Warlord, you can't deny like knights from achieving Layla of the Tyrant, for example. That will still apply. Embrace the Pain is the next one. It is Suffering and Sacrifice from Sisters. You choose an Emperor's Children unit from your army until the end of the phase. It is models, I guess, which is the old Suffering and Sacrifice version, not units. The new run affects the whole unit, which is wild. But models within engagement range of your unit must select your unit as the target of its attacks. It is infantry only, but what you can do is, like, if you can engage a character or something and they're trying to hit your vehicle, your own character, you can force them to, you can taunt them over to attack with those scary special weapon models into your little idiots, like your little legionary equivalent, essentially. The mortal wound defense parts feels like a miss. Aren't things like grenade, tank, shock, or pick a unit to do mortals not considered attacks? The stratagem also triggers when mortal wounds are allocated. I guess I shouldn't mention. It is mortal wound or attack. So as soon as you are assigned mortal wounds from abilities or stratagems or whatever, you can use the stratagem to ignore on a 4. So it works the way you'd think it would work. Martial Perfection is the next one. Emperor's Children unit for 1 CP, which is wild. Emperor's Children unit gets reroll hit rolls. If you have fully comboed out your Coterie of the Conceited Army Detachment ability here, and you get 5-up critical hits, lethal, sustained, and hit rerolls to fish for them, your unit goes fucking insane. There's almost no chance that you're going to have all of those online at any one time. I guess it's not no chance. I guess we should probably couch that. It depends on the matchup. You're playing against like this MSU army, and you're just like, sick, let's go. Want to get 4 pledge points a turn, bitch? If you can wombo combo that out, then you're looking great. You're gonna do so much damage, but otherwise you're it's just good. right? It's just good to have. 1 CP reroll hit rolls. It's just a solid stratagem. Unbound Arrogance. This is the one you guys were talking about in chat in order to increase your pledge, even if your warlord's dead. So the detachment rule to pledge at the start of the battle round works if your warlord is there. If they're not there, if they're not there, then you don't get to pledge at the beginning. However, the check for completion of the pledge will still like happen. So if you don't have a warlord and you kill a unit, shooting or fight bays, you can pay a CP. It increases your pledge by 1. Then at the end of that battle round, you will have achieved a pledge of 1. So you can gain 1 pact point, basically, for a CP once per round. It doesn't work immediately. It just increases the pledge that then checks later. But it can also be used like while you actually have a pledge ongoing too, right? So you can be like, hey, I've pledged 3, but I've just killed a 4th. I'll pay a CP to get the 4th pact point at the end of this round. You have to kill a unit too. Right, but you only use it when you kill the unit. So there's no instance that the strat... Let's see if I can zoom in here. Here we go. It's this guy. There's no instance where the strat will fail, right? Because you've already destroyed a unit when you use it. It's not like when you select a unit to shoot and then it increases your pledge. It's after you've already succeeded the pledge, essentially. Last up is Armor of Abhorrence. It gives you turn 1. You're going to pledge 1 and your opponent goes, okay, I'll hide turn 1. Yeah, but what people are saying is that you can pledge 0. And then if your opponent decides to hide against the 0, you just don't use the strat, right? Was what we talking about? I don't know what we're discussing. Armor of Horowitz is literally just armor of contempt. I don't know. I have nothing else to say about that. I do think that against this detachment, you are certainly incentivized to hide basically as much as possible, right? Because you don't want to be giving them the capacity to generate additional value from killing your units. So you are. This army has to play very aggressively in order to get up close and personal with you. I think that's the case for most of these detachments to begin with. I think that's just how Emperor's Children are going to play. I think they just have to play aggressively because they don't really have the tools to sit back and do nothing. They have the threat range to like play funny threat range games, but again, not in this detachment, right? They don't have any ways to enhance their threat range beyond just being fast themselves, their own army ability. And they want to be generating, sort of that additional value, whereas other detachments could maybe play a little cagier. But this one's going to play super aggressively. Again, I don't know if this is going to be sort of hyper competitive. You know what I mean? It feels to me like it has a good set of stratagems. You can gain pact points. It has several defensive strats. It has AOC and Feel No Pain ability, hit rerolls in melee, characteristic ignoring. All of that stuff is good. The enhancements are okay. I think the Auto 6 enhancement's great, but otherwise the other stuff is just okay. But I do think that from like a flavor standpoint, this detachment's like so sick. I absolutely love it. And again, I think it's like a little bit of the case of the design team kind of flexing their creative muscles a little bit. For like, how are we going to sort of accurately represent a Chaos Space Marine army on the battlefield, right? Where that's like... that's playing, or that's like doing this real like risk reward kind of thing, which I think is super sweet. Does Unbound Arrogance affect immediately? So the effect is immediate, but pact points only check at the end of each round. So you won't get the you'll get the pledge point right then. but that won't translate into pact points for you until the next battle round. So you can't use it to be like, I killed a unit, I'm going to get sustained hits. You can say, I killed a unit, now next turn I'll get sustained hits, which makes it a little clunky. If it worked immediately, it might be too strong. I actually wonder if that's how it worked previously, and it actually ended up just being too good or something. Big sad about flawless blades? Interesting. Well, we'll discuss it. No, it is how it works, yeah. So there are two types of point. There's two P words, which is why this is confusing. Let's zoom in on the detachment ability here. Let's get my viewer. Just make sure we're on the same page. It's cut off. What have I done? Fix. All right, here we go. So there's two P words. There are pledges and there are pact points. You pledge a number of units you're going to destroy at the start of the battle round. Then, at the end of that battle round, if you have succeeded your pledge, those pledge points, for lack of a better term, convert into pact points. So, the start of the battle round, you start by pledging. End of the battle round, pledges turn to pacts. Then, based on how many pact points you have accrued until that point, you get these abilities, right? So that will always recheck at the end of the battle round when you gain new pact points. And there's no way to lose pact points. Once you have them, it says it's cumulative. They just hang around and they buff your army. The stratagem... Can we make it over here? The stratagem... Come on, screen. The stratagem increases the pledge. It does not increase your pact points. So you start a battle round, you go, I pledge. The pledge carries on till the end. Then if the pledge is successful, it converts to pacts. This increases the amount that you have pledged before it turns into pact points, right? Does that make sense? It's annoying because they said two P words, right? It's like it's like they're very similar. Pact points was maybe the wrong, just because it's like people are going to get them confused all the time for sure. Pledges into pact points is a little bit too alliterative. Maybe they should have said, like, what's this called? Conceited? Coterie of the Conceited? I don't know. So, just say Blessings of Slaanesh or something, right? You pledge to Slaanesh at the end of the battle round, you get Blessings of Slaanesh. I don't know, whatever. Either way, that's how it works. It's all about the PPs. I mean, I guess that's true. Maybe that was the reason that everything begins with P. It is the COC. Oh, it's COTC. Forget the. If you pledge to kill 3, you killed 1. Use the strat to increase it by 1. So now you've fulfilled it by gaining 1 from a kill and another one from the strat. Otherwise, you'd fall if you'd fail it. No, that's not correct. It increases the cap that you have. So let's say, for example, I pledged 2 units. If I only killed 1 unit, then I would have killed 1 unit and I would be losing my pledge by 1. If I used the stratagem, after I killed a second unit, I would have killed 2 units, but I would have increased my pledge to 3, so I would still fail. However, if I've already killed 2 units, thus succeeding my pact, and I kill a 3rd unit, I can use the stratagem to increase my pledge by 1 to 3, which I have succeeded, which then gives me an additional pact point at the end of the round. It doesn't increase, I guess beyond you already having killed someone, it doesn't increase your what's the word? Like your obligation to complete. It doesn't get you closer to completing the obligation. It just increases the level, right? It like moves the bar over by 1. You pledge 3 units. Parasite of Mortrex charges you with sustained hits 1. It gets an extra attack on an overpositor. It kills 2 models. Do you get the pledge from killing the Mortrax plus 2 Rippers? Yeah. Like, it's every unit. So, this is, like, fucking so funny against Tyranids, right? They're like, hey, guys, I'm gonna get... I drew behind enemy lines with my stupid Spore Mine or whatever. I'll, like, put a Spore Mine behind you, and you're like, sick. Pledge 1. Shoot that with a bolt pistol. We did it, boys! Give me that fucking reroll hit rolls of 1. It's very funny against like our spawning armies, like summoners. Hilarious against this. MSU stuff. You bring a bunch of little 5-man units with characters in them. Incredible. Like, I got my 3 units of assault intercessors, and they got captains in them. This is gonna be great. And the Slaanesh player's like, I pledged 4 and killed 2 of those, and you're like, ruh-roh, Raggy. Yeah. If you are up against like Imperial Knights, though, you're like, this is the worst attachment in the game. Like, I literally can't even complete 7. And if I kill Cadus Rex, he doesn't count as being dead, so it doesn't even matter. Like, yeah. So you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? Screw those Spore Mines. Yeah, I think it's an important piece of Tyranid technology to learn when you're not supposed to use a Spore Mine, because sometimes you're like, man, I could just start putting screens out and stuff, and your opponent's like, I'm gonna get no prisoners on that. Just like just real quick, I'm gonna hold those Spore Mines, and I'm gonna get no prisoners in my movement phase for blowing them up. And this is basically the same thing. Does killing a unit with a character count as 2 units? It does. As soon as the character, as soon as the bodyguard unit is destroyed, the character splits into its own unit. So destroying that would also give you an additional unit to kill. It's the same for like overwhelming force and no prisoners. If you have killed, if you kill a character unit with, or a unit with the character in it, you get 2 no prisoners kills instead of 1. You 0 to 100 unit and characters. Yeah. Anyway, chat. Let's talk about the next attachment. I think we've talked about Coterie of the Conceited for long enough. Let's talk about Slaanesh's Chosen. This one I think is a miss. For me, this one feels like, I think it's maybe just the worst attachment out of the box. It's another one where it doesn't feel quite as interesting to me as the Coterie. They tried to do this, they tried to implement the theme of your army competing with one another, right? Where it's this like, the Emperor's Children's sort of vibe is that it's everyone's trying to outduel each other and all this stuff. And they did that a little bit with the Thrill Seeker's army ability, but they tried to go even harder with this detachment, and I don't think it works super well. But maybe it's better. I imagine it's better than I'm giving it credit for, but I do think that there are going to be some situations where it's like kind of weird. All right, how's it work? First of all, you ignore movement characteristic modifiers. To move characteristic, advanced rolls, charge rolls, great. That's perfect. If you're a character unit. Not a huge ability, but certainly not something you're going to be upset about when you run into a Basilisk or something. In addition, you have a favored champion mechanic. Your warlord starts as your favored champion, and when you are a favored champion, your whole unit, so both the character and any unit they're attached to, gets wound rerolls, which is great. What you could do in theory with this is play a limited number of characters and just benefit from your wound rerolls, which is like totally fine. If you just have 1 or 2 characters and they're going to get wound rerolls sometimes, it's amazing. You do have the capacity to lose the favored champion appendum, though, appellation. The first time in each turn, a Emperor's Children character unit from your army destroys an enemy unit. After resolving all its attacks, that character unit becomes your army's new favorite champion, replacing the old one. So it's a little bit weird. I believe that if your current favorite champion kills the first unit each turn, then you will be then you'll retain it. Because after another character unit kills a unit, that's not the first time a character unit destroys a unit that turn. So there are ways to like engage with your whole army without trading the favorite champion ability around. The other thing is that the favorite champion effect affects all attacks, so it works on your ranged attacks as well. So you can put it on, like in the early game, like Noise Marines with a detached character, make the character your warlord. He's going to give his whole unit wound rerolls for the early game. You can also, if you're taking like big stuff like Demon Princes or Fulgrim, getting wound rerolls on those guys is great too. Even if that is just like, you just leave it on them for a while. That's actually probably fine. We'll talk about Fulgrim later because he has... his weapons are not great, but if he has wound rerolls, I bet they become much better. Enhancements. A lot of these give you additional bonuses while you are your favored champion, and this is where I think that the rule is a little bit of a miss. It works if the character like starts as the warlord, but I think part of the problem is that most of the time you're destroying units in melee, and that means that 90% of the time, immediately on the swing back, your opponent has the opportunity to just kill your favorite champion. So you're not really getting that much of a benefit from them. So Eager to Prove gives you reroll charge rolls, which is fine. While you're a favorite champion, you get +2 move. So if this is on your warlord can start at move like 10, or the unit can start at move 10. However, if you start your warlord somewhere else and the Eager to Prove unit is not your warlord, they're not really going to get the benefit of this, because as soon as they go into melee and kill an enemy unit, your opponent gets the opportunity to kill them, and so they won't even really get the benefit of +2 movement. Repulsed by Weakness is the next one. Each time an enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer's unit falls back, non-monster, non-vehicle, then they must take a Desperate Escape check. They get -1 to hit to do that if you are the favored champion. This one might actually work because you're going to get stuck in when you're killing people, and then you're going to force the Desperate Escape checks at -1. But the Desperate Escape abilities don't tend to be that exciting anyway, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know if you're going to take this one that often. Proud and Vainglorious is the next one. You reroll Battle Shock and Leadership Test for your unit. While you're a favorite champion, you also get +1 to objective control characteristics. That also means, interestingly, that while you're the favorite champion, you actually don't lose OC for being Battle Shocked, because on your turn, anyway, you become Battle Shocked, but as long as you remain the favorite champion, that you get +1 OC. Although you reroll your Battle Shock test, so the chances that you fail this are kind of low. It's like a bad Reaper's Wager. Yeah, it's like a bad Reaper's Wager, but when you're losing the wager, like when the other faction is winning the wager, you don't get any benefits beyond ignore movement characteristic modifiers, which is not great. Slayer of Champions is the last one. Your melee attacks get precision, and if you target a character unit, you get +1 strength and AP, which is whatever. Precision sucks. +1 in strength, AP, and AP are good, but it's only character units. It doesn't work in like when you're fighting big stuff, so it's kind of who cares. So these enhancements overall, the only one that I think I would be really excited about is the +2 movement one, and maybe the leadership test one, but the rest of them are kind of really bad. Stratagems. Devoted Duelists gives you sustained hits 1 on a character unit, or on all your character units, in fact, in the fight phase, targeting a single enemy unit. So that's good. Seems solid. Worst case scenario, one of your character units gets sustained 1, which is solid. Best case scenario, you can get it on multiple characters. That's even just a stratagem in one of the other detachments, so... I guess the targeting restrictions are a little bit more restrictive, but you also can do it on multiple units maybe, so seems fine. Beautiful Death is the next one. Character unit targeted by enemy attacks in the fight phase for 1 CP gets a 4+ fight on death with +1 to the roll if you are a favored champion. That is pretty good because you're probably going to get counterpunched if you become the favored champion. And then getting a 3+ fight on death is pretty solid because Slaanesh melee profiles are pretty good. Heightened Jealousy is the next one. Use it in the shooting phase or fight phase after a character unit becomes your army's favored champion, or after your favorite champion unit destroys an enemy unit. You target the favored champion unit, and until the end of the phase, you get +1 strength to your character units that are not your favorite champions. So everyone else gets a bonus once your favorite champion does something cool. Which I guess is neat, right? If you start with the favorite champion to try to retain the favorite champion bonus, then you could unlock +1 strength. Although I think a lot of times it doesn't matter that much. So it's kind of a whatever buff. Diabolic Majesty forces battle shock checks on enemies when you become your favorite champion. That's kind of whatever. Refusal to be outdone selects an enemy engagement range in one already engagement range with a unit from your army and gives you +2 to charge that enemy unit. So you can go in with a faster thing first, then get +2 on your slower stuff, which is great. The downside is that that second unit can't advance and charge when you do so. So you can't use it to like compound your charge, but you can use it to like kind of get a slightly limited effect, like version of advance and charge, with the rider that you're a character and that you've already engaged the target with something. Vengeful Surge is the last one. It's a 1 CP Blood Surge. It doesn't require you to lose anything, which is cool. So it's just after you've been targeted, regardless of what happened during the attack. After the attacking unit has shot, you can make a surge move D6 inches. You must end as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. You can move in engage range of that unit. Blah 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 blah. You get to reroll the dice if you are the favorite champion, which is good. That's a good stratagem. Those are always good. No notes there. Like I say, I think this detachment ability is probably better than I'm giving it credit for, but I still don't think it's particularly great. A lot of the stratagems are kind of like they have a lot of riders on them, or they're just sort of whatever. Like we have a 6-inch battle shock test aura. Like okay, for a CP, like it's whatever. In some instances, it's actually like actively bad for you. You can get +1 strength and like a situational sustained hits, which is good in melee. +2 charge, but you can't advance and charge, and it requires you to jump through hoops. Is like okay. It's just like okay. I don't know. The effect of becoming a favorite champion is really strong, but it doesn't feel to me like it's going to come up more than like on 2 or 3 units over the course of the game, right? And it also requires you to kind of like play super, like a huge number of characters to make use of all the detachment abilities, which I don't know is particularly efficient, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know. I bet someone can make this work, but it feels a little bit too difficult to work for me. Yeah, pretty meh for sure. Character units include units with attached characters. Yes, that is correct. So yeah, a character unit is any unit that contains one or more models with the character keyword. So it works on not only individual characters, like we talked about Demon Princes, Fulgrim. We'll talk about those data sheets in a moment. And getting wound rerolls on those guys is great, but it also works on like an entire unit of Noise Marines with an attached Lord. It works on your melee units that have melee characters inside them. And an interesting thing about this codex, which I think is part of the, it's definitely a lesson that the design team has learned throughout the edition, is that the way that they've worded like leadership effects has been really smart, because a lot of them just affect the unit, like the bearer's unit, right? So a lot of these enhancements and things work on your whole unit, regardless of whether or not you're attached. And that makes these enhancements much easier to swallow. And there are also characters that gain or lose abilities based on whether or not they're attached to units, which is also pretty neat. So I think that I think this is a faction where you are incentivized to take a higher than average number of characters, and getting benefits from things like the detachment ability or your enhancements on all those models is a huge deal. +1 strength on flawless blades just to indulge, yeah. I'm already winning you on 3s, but I could be winning you on 3s even more. So let's go. We want to play triple Keeper of Secrets running around with Fulgrim. That's probably something. I don't know. The Keeper of Secrets is a kind of whatever, but you definitely can. And they give up those sustained hits, which is actually pretty good for those units. So I don't know. Rapid Evisceration is the next detachment. This faction has like 6 detachments, by the way, which is wild because it has almost that many data sheets. It's like kind of crazy. If I was a World Leaders player, I'd be excited about the World Leaders Codex because I bet you're getting a lot of cool shit in there. Rapid Evisceration gives you reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 when you disembark a transport. On all your attacks, done. Easy peasy. Sick. It's the transport and vehicle focused detachment, and I think this one seems really straightforward and pretty good. A little bit of a roller coaster, whiplash from the last detachment we talked about. Sublime Prescience is the first enhancement. It's a really weird one, so let's break this one down. Once per turn in your movement phase, you can select a transport that is in strategic reserves. Until the end of that phase, treat the battle round as one higher than it actually is for the purposes of setting that transport up on the battlefield. So first of all, because it's an active ability, it requires that you yourself not be in a transport. So it's an infantry model that's either sitting in reserves or sitting on the battlefield. It then targets a transport in reserves and lets it either turn 1 rapid ingress, or excuse me, not rapid ingress. You can't rapid ingress with it. Don't do that. You can't do that. It's only your movement phase. Turn 1 strategic reserve or turn 2 strategic reserve farther. Although I don't remember if the rules commentary has something to say about deployment zone rapid ingresses on turn 2. I think that it disallows them. But it's a mess. But basically, as long as your infantry model that you've attached the enhancement to is not in a transport at the beginning of the game, you can turn 1, bring a unit in off of strategic reserve, which is neat. It feels like I don't know why it is like it has so many riders on it, but it is what it is. It feels very confusing. Turn 1, outflank a land raider. Exactly. And keep in mind that when you strategic reserve or you reserve in a transport, your unit can then immediately disembark that transport. So you can come in with a land raider, then drop off like fucking 2 noise marine bricks or whatever and blow somebody away, and then also get your hit and wound rolls. So it's good, and I think there's going to be a lot of rhinos in this list in this army. So I think that's. There's definitely a lot of interesting use cases for this. If this is a very expensive enhancement, I don't think it's going to be that good because it basically only works once per game. But I do think that it is definitely a pretty solid one. Spearhead Striker gives you reroll charge rolls when you disembark from a transport and enemies can't overwatch you. Great. Solid. No notes. Not being able to overwatch is sweet. Accomplished Tactician is the next one. This is another weird one. I think it's because you have to put enhancements on like non-vehicle units, and then they want to affect units around vehicle units, that they make this one really awkward. It's infantry model only. After your opponent's in your opponent's shooting phase, after an enemy has shot, you can select an Emperor's Children unit within 9 inches of the bearer that was hit by 1 or more of those attacks from the enemy unit. Then select a transport unit wholly within 6 inches of that Emperor's Children unit that it then embarks within. So essentially, you get a 9-inch aura that says once per turn, once on your opponent's turn, if you shoot at one of my guys in this aura, they can get inside a transport. It could be your unit as well, which is important to keep in mind. So it doesn't require necessarily that it work on someone else, but you can use it to just have a unit that's very difficult to engage with, which I think is solid. I think in the instances where you're going to be playing Land Raiders and these aggressive vehicles that like run off the table that you then disembark from and charge, having the capacity to just run away into another transport when your opponent shoots you is going to be great. I think that's fine. Heretic Adept is the last one. This is really straightforward. It's basically just a Adept of the Omnissiah from Ironstorm Spearhead. You get once per battle round, when you fail a saving throw for a vehicle unit, you can change the damage characteristic of the attack to 0. So you can blank a failed saving throw once per round. within 6 inches, which is a pretty wide margin, and it works on any vehicles, so Maulerfiends and Land Raiders and stuff like that too, which is sweet. Next one. Let's talk about stratagems. On to the next. Use in the fight phase after you destroy an enemy unit, you can then disembark, you can then embark within a transport that you are wholly within 6 inches of. Pretty good. It does require that you destroy an enemy unit in the fight phase, so you can't shoot, like, do funny shooting combos with it. But in the situations where it like you overcommit and kill a little unit with a big unit, you can just set up to make sure that you can get back in that transport. That's pretty solid. Advance and Claim is the next one. You target an Emperor's Children transport from your army with a Tormentor unit inside. Tormentors are essentially the intercessors of this army. They are like Bolter Marines with OBSEC. You can then OBSEC an objective that the transport's holding. So you for a CP, in your command phase, you get the Cabalite Warrior detachment, or like the Cabalite Warrior ability, where they can OBSEC through their embarked transport, which is great. Dynamic Breakthrough is the next one, usable in your movement phase. You can move through enemy models with a vehicle. Not terrain features though, just models. That one's not good. I don't know. Again, they tried to push that ability like so hard, and I don't really understand it. It's like, I guess you can not movement block the vehicles as easily, but for the most part, you're just gonna they're gonna get movement blocked anyway because of how 40k works, and not being able to end in engagement range. So it's, I don't know, it doesn't really matter so much, but whatever. Ceaseless Onslaught is the next one. If you disembark from a transport that made a normal move, you can then charge. So you basically, for a CP, you give Rhinos Assault Ramp. It's also usable in the charge phase, which is the best timing for that too. So if you disembark a unit with the expectation of charging and then shoot the unit that you were going to charge and it dies, you'll just be like, all right, well, I guess I won't spend the CP. And then if your opponent shoots you and you have that enhancement, you can just get back in the Rhino, which is neat. That's neat. Reactive Disembarkation, usable in the shooting phase after an enemy unit has selected its targets. Importantly, you use the stratagem before they roll any attacks, but it affects immediately. So your opponent goes, I'm going to shoot at a transport. That's the target of the stratagem that has embarked units. You can then disembark a unit from it 6 inches away. So this is a little bit of a weird one. You like have a Rhino in the middle of the table, and whatever situation you want to be in, either you can use it to protect the unit that is disembarking, if your opponent's trying to like block its disembarkation or charge it after it disembarked, or they're trying to set up so that they can shoot the unit that's disembarking the transport once they kill the transport, or even they just shoot at a transport but then don't have any other good attacks. You could use it to gain threat range potentially. So there's a bunch of ways you can use it, but your opponent goes, I'm going to shoot your transport. You go, okay, one sec, hold up. I'm going to disembark first. And your unit jumps out, your opponent shoots the transport, and all their attacks bounce, or they kill the transport, or whatever. But now your unit's hanging out, maybe out of line of sight, maybe in a position where they can charge, maybe taking an objective. Even if they blow up the transport, if you use this stratagem first, you're not battle shocked when you get out, so you can contest objectives, you can heroically intervene. You don't take any damage from disembarking, and you get extra range when you disembark because you get the full 6 inches rather than the normal wholly within 3. So this is like a super wild stratagem. I think there are going to be times where this like totally ends games for people, where they're like, oh, I'll just shoot that unit, and you're like, I'll contest your areas now. And you're like, fuck. Or something like that. I like it. I like it a lot. That's what I have to say about it. Yeah, move on to objective. Exactly, yeah. I'll take the objective from you instead of doing whatever it was you were going to do. All that stuff, yeah. No, I think it's really good, for sure. There's so many ways to use this, which is rad. Outflanking Strike is the last one. End of your opponent's fight phase. You can choose either one transport or 2 dedicated transports. So 1 Land Raider or 2 Rhinos. if they are wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge, they can go to strategic reserve. It's weird that you are allowed to target units that are not wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge. It just doesn't do anything. I don't really understand what the use case of that is, but it gives you uppy downy on your rhinos, which is great. You can use them as little utility units if you're just like bouncing around the sides of the table with them. No downsides on that one. And I guess you can even do it like end of your opponent's fight phase and then use Sublime Prescience to bring them in. Like bottom of 1, you're like wholly within 9 of the side edge or something with a rhino, and your opponent's like, oh, you can't strategic reserve turn 1 or whatever. And you're like, well, if I use the strat, then I'll just do it, which is kind of cute. I don't know. Not the most powerful uppy downy ever. It's kind of hard to get a transport wholly within 9 of a table edge, but the situations where you're using rhinos as utility units, it is going to be useful for sure. All right, chats. I believe that we have 1 left. Yes, and then we're on to data sheets. Woo! Oh, man, there's so many freaking detachments in this army. It's crazy. Peerless Bladesmen is the next one. This is another one that is super straightforward. I think that it, along with the advanced Mercurial host, is just I don't know. It's just like solid, right? You just have some good abilities and that's it. You don't have to think too hard about these ones. The detachment rule: when you make a charge move, you get either lethal hits or sustained hits. That's it. You get a martial kata when you charge, essentially, and you can advance and charge already, which is neat. So cool. All right, sounds good. Enhancements: you can heroically intervene for 0 on your unit, and you can duplicate heroic intervention, so you can heroically intervene with 2 units maybe. And then that also, importantly, heroic intervention triggers the detachment rule because it is a charge, so that's nice. Blinding Speed is the next one. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, you can gain fights first. Great. It's Speed of the Primarch from Blood Angels, from Liberator Assault Group. That enhancement rules, and this one does too. Distortion gives you +1 attack and damage to all your melee weapons. Great. So far we're batting 100 with these enhancements. No notes, just a good melee buff. Rise to the Challenge is the last one. Once per battle at the end of the fight phase, if you are engaged with 3 or more enemy units, you can use this enhancement. If you do, you can fight an additional time. And you can select a detachment rule to apply to those attacks. This one's really weird. It is infantry only, and it's so strong if you have the opportunity to use it, but the times where it's going to matter are so minute. It requires that the bearer himself is within engagement range of 3 or more enemies. So it means he's within 1 inch of 3 models, which already is very difficult. And he also has to do that at the end of the fight phase after everyone has attacked. So the odds are that you have already killed the unit you charged, and it requires you to have this model in a position where he can then consolidate into a second unit or something. You do have a 6-inch consolidation stratagem, so there's ways to game it. But then also you have to be your opponent's unit has to be set up in a position where they have 3 models then that you can engage. The ability is so incredible because you're getting basically a second charge move out of this unit, or second charge fight activation out of this unit. But the times where it's going to matter are so rare. I don't know if it's worth it. And this feels like one of those enhancements is going to be 35 or 40 points. And I don't know if you can really justify that expense because the counterplay your opponent has is so easy. But if it's cheap and your opponent has to think about it all the time, then it's probably worth it. So I don't know. It's crazy, absolutely wild ability. Who thought we would get fight twice back in 10th edition 40k? That's wild. It's like if you consolidate into 3 miniatures, you do it, or rival will take one of those 3 required miniatures if they stay in combat. Yeah. So, well, you have to consolidate into 3 models, like specifically, because if you don't and your opponent activates, then they just won't pile in to get 3 models in, right? Unless they fuck up, right? They could just fuck up. But I would assume that your opponent's not going to fuck up. Going into Wardens with the character attached to the bottom 4+ Wheel of Pain. Well, like, that, you know, I think like a similar thing happens, right? Where like, it's at the end of the fight phase, so not only have you attacked, so if you're fighting something small, you've probably killed it, or you've given your opponent the ability to kill themselves out of melee with you. So unless you have like a 6-inch consolidation, you pay the CP, you're probably not getting 3 models in. And even then, they can pull casualties such that the character model, who's the only one who matters for this enhancement, can't get to engagement with 3, specifically 3 enemies, 3 or more enemies. So your opponent has control over where casualties get pulled if you fought first, and you've probably kicked the shit out of them. If you haven't kicked the shit out of them and you've engaged something relevant, then they'll just kill you. You know, this is not a faction that is like wildly difficult to kill. You know, the example of a unit of wardens that is has like feel no pained up and like has a blade champion, all this shit, and then you charge it and they don't die, like you're probably just dead on the correct back, or you're dead down to a point where it doesn't really matter that much, and like maybe you'll kill 1 more guy or something. It's, I don't know, it's just weird, but maybe it's really good, maybe it's really easy, and I don't know. Anyway, chat, let's talk about some stratagems. Deft Parry. Your minus 1 to be hit in the fight phase. Great. Love it. That's easy. That one's easy. Death Ecstasy. For 2 CP, you gotta fight on death. Easy. Don't have to roll. You just gotta fight on death. It is expensive. 2 CP's a lot, but it just happens automatically, and that's phenomenal. Incessant Violence gives you 6-inch consolidation rather than 3. Provided you can engage another enemy unit. So you can't use it to go to objectives specifically. You can do so to just go into units. Cruel Bladesman gives you +1 AP in melee. Again, fucking awesome. That's listen, as a demon player, +1 AP for a CP is a good stratagem, and I realize that my camera's in the way of that stratagem, so here it is. +1 AP in the fight phase. You do have to have charged, I guess. That one is not too hard to pull off. And to be fair, if you're being charged, you're probably using Fight on Death. Terrifying Spectacle, less good. If you made a charge move and destroyed 1 or more enemy units in the previous fight phase, in your opponent's command phase, you can try to battle shotgun everybody within 6. That one is fine. I don't know. It's okay. It basically like forces everyone to take a battle shock test, kind of like gives you Death Leaper's aura if you charged and killed someone. This is a good timing for it because at least it doesn't mean that they immediately clear the battle shock and take their objectives back. You can actually take objectives with this, but on the flip side, it is a battle shock effect, so I don't know who's like that excited about it. Last and certainly not least is Cut Down the Weak. This is very similar to the Deathwing stratagem that we saw out of Lion's Blade. When your opponent falls back, a Emperor's Children unit from your army can heroically intervene it, essentially. What an effect. It's 2 CP, but you engage a unit. I think the idea is that we engage a unit. We like kill a unit, 6-inch consolidate, engage a second unit. They fall back, we charge back into melee. You don't get the charge bonus, but you are swinging first in the fight normal step because it is your opponent's turn, and your opponent can't shoot you unless you're a vehicle or they have pistols, which is fucking awesome. So this stratagem rules. This stratagem is fucking rad. You can also it's the same like wording as a lot of these strats where you can use it on anyone after an enemy falls back. So if they fall back like sort of towards you, you can charge them as well. Awesome. What a strat. Love it. So again, super straightforward detachment. You're a little slower than you are in Mercurial host, but you do more damage. And you have like more funny combat tricks. I don't have much to say about this one. I think it doesn't feel maybe quite as strong because I think the speed is maybe a little bit more important. Being able to get to melee is worth more damage than getting more damage when you're in melee, but the combat tricks are super powerful. So I think there are going to be some really good players at the fight phase who are going to make this detachment absolutely sing. Detachment rules apply. Yes, you have charged during that turn, so you then get to select one of a lethal or sustain when you go to fight on that fight phase. Yeah, for sure. Everything applies to demon princes. I guess that's true. Yeah, everything is just Emperor's Children units that charge. Easy. I do think that demon princes are going to be neat for sure. I'm a little worried because their strength characteristics really low, but maybe that's fine. All right, chat. Whoa, we've made it through the detachments. Holy shit! I never thought that this day would come. I thought we were stuck in the doldrums, in the slimy grip of the Emperor's Children detachment section. For a million billion years. Should we talk about some fucking data sheets, chat? Yeah, the winged demon prince. Yeah, it feels so strong. I don't know. He's really good for sure. Does Keeper of Secrets datasheet ability to apply to demon index lists since it no longer has the 5+? No. Those are two separate datasheets. Two separate datasheets entirely. It's like the Sisters of Battle squad datasheet in Imperial Agents. Like Imperial Agents have an immolator datasheet, and Sisters have an immolator datasheet, and they're different. It's exactly like that. The new Keeper of Secrets datasheet in Emperor's Children is entirely separate from the Keeper of Secrets datasheet in the Chaos Demons Codex. As a new person, what does a datasheet mean? A datasheet is this. A datasheet is the card that includes all of the rules for a unit. It just means datasheets. It just means like unit stats, basically. That's all it means. Yeah, no worries. Also, if you're new to the hobby, welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful time over here in our wonderful weird miniature game, and I hope you're learning a lot and having fun times. Do you still get access to allied units like Chaos Knights? Yes. Yeah, Chaos Knights. Actually, I say that really with like great confidence, but I actually have less confidence than I maybe should. I believe that Chaos Knights just slot into Chaos factions, but it might specify the faction. No, it just slots into Chaos. Yeah, so you get. I assume these are Chaos units. Yes. Okay. Yeah. You get. Never trust GW. They would always forget to put a fucking keyword on datasheet. Yes. Chaos Knights slot into any Chaos faction, so you can just do Chaos Knight stuff. So you can take War Dogs. You can take 3 War Dogs or 1 big guy, like normal. What is the Sisters of Battle example for those datasheets? So, Imperial Agents have a Sister of Battle datasheet. So, like, we can look. We'll pull up Wikipedia real quick. So, like, in the game, and this happens for a bunch of different units. In the game exists multiple datasheets for, let's say, for example, the Sister of Battle Emulator. Or let's say, like, I guess Battle Sister Squad or something. The unit is functionally identical between these two datasheets. So here is the Imperial Agents version. Here is the Adeptus Sororitas version. But they're represented by the same miniatures. They have all like most sort of the same abilities. Like their abilities are similar. They have all the same weapons. However, they are 2 separate units, right? And it's the same for demons in the Emperor's Children Codex. Emperor's Children Slaanesh demons they have the same name at the top of the datasheet. This one, I guess, is a better example might be like Deathwatch Veterans or something. I don't know. The datasheet is still like totally separate, right? You wouldn't say that because the Incensor Cherub ability on the Sister of Battle Imperial Agent Squad means that the Cherub ability should be different, like on the Battle Sister Squad, right? Those are two separate abilities on two separate datasheets, so the units are totally separate. Anything that affects this datasheet does not affect this datasheet. Fiends and Emperor Children don't grant -1 to hit. Yeah, they grant Desperate Breakout. They force Desperate Breakout. Yeah. Desperate Escape and -1 to Desperate Escape of your Battle Shocks. Oh, that is true. I think I might have misspoken earlier, actually. I think I said that they had -1 to hit. I think that the keywords that get affected by that are also slightly different, too. I believe that it affected non-Titanic stuff previously. It was like non-Titanic monsters, I think. All right, Titanic monsters did not get affected, but non-Titanic monsters did. I forget. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Index Chaos Demons will need an update for it to work with Emperor Children. So yeah, there's like some weirdness because I believe Demonic Pact currently has a cutout for Emperor's Children. And I guess it would be an interesting question whether or not they can take stuff. Yeah, so it has, I guess it's the Lucius the Eternal clause, where it's because they didn't have a faction keyword until like way later than the index was printed. And Emperor's Children army was just a Chaos Space Marine army that had Lucius in it as their warlord. Oh, I guess that means that you can take any. I guess if Lucius is your warlord, you can only include Slaanesh demons. But if like Fulgrim is your warlord, then you can take anyone. But what they'll probably do, if they even want to, they might just cut this out and make like a cutout that prevents Emperor's Children from benefiting from this because they have their own demon data sheets. But I don't know if they will. The weird part is that it creates a situation where you have access to multiple different varieties of Slaanesh demons with like identical stats, right? But I guess that's true of other factions. You can include Imperial Agent Immolators with Sisters of Battle Immolators, right? In the same army. Like there's no reason for that you couldn't do that. So I guess like the precedent is there for them to just say, you can just take fucking 500 points of regular Slaanesh demons, and it's different than the Legion of Excess demons, but they don't have the keywords to work with Carnival. So they don't have the same level of synergy as they would in that detachment. But you can take them in different detachments also. I don't know if that would be transformative to the faction, but it would certainly give you access to like Celeste and like some utility stuff, which is really nice. And some Deep Strikers and things. But again, that's all speculation because like this certainly requires an FAQ 100% right off the bat. And how they choose to do that is going to be interesting. But I do think that right now you are allowed to take like Nurgle stuff, like Lords of Change and shit. You could take 2 Shalaxi at 3,000 points, I think. At onslaught level, you could take 2 Shalaxis, I believe. Oh, actually, I don't know. How does the Epic Hero rule work? This is a funny thought experiment. In the core rules. Is it only one instance of that datasheet, or is it only one instance of like a datasheet with that name? Because they have the same name, right? Your epic your army cannot include the same epic hero more than once, which I guess refers to datasheet, right? Unless it, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They will almost certainly disallow it. But I think this is the first time that we've had an epic. Ooh, excuse me. An epic hero with multiple datasheets for them at the same time, right? Mostly the datasheets get like revised. If you play Legends, can you take Marnius Calgar twice? Just food for thought, chat. You know? Because there's like 3 different Marnius Calgar datasheets in Legends. Interesting. Either way, that's neither here nor there. That all depends on how the design team, the development team wants to update these rules, and that is not in our purview. So let's talk about some freaking unit profiles. We're starting with Lucius the Eternal. This guy fucking rules, by the way. So, first off, he has both leader and lone operative, and gives himself fight first. If you play Legends, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, it opens the floodgates, right? So interestingly, and I super love that our units that do this. Lucius has basically 2, like there's almost 2 datasheets baked into this one. Because you can play Lucius as just a little dude who wanders around, right? He's lone operative. He has a 6 wounds with a 2+4+5+ feel no pain. So he's not easy to kill. He can't be shot from outside 12, and he fights first. So if he heroic intervenes or you charge him, he'll kick the shit out of you. Because his base melee profile is either 6 strength 8 AP 3 damage attacks or 10 strength 4 AP 1 damage. So he's like pretty good at neutering like utility units all by himself. However, you could also attach him into Flawless Blades, in which case he doesn't benefit the unit at all. It should be noted. There's actually no synergy between him and Flawless Blades, except that the Flawless Blades make him super good. So we'll talk about that in a sec. He also gains. He stole Shellax's ability. He gains full hit and wound rerolls against character monster and walkers. I guess not vehicles. I just noticed. That's weird. That's funny because he's got a duelia. I guess he doesn't duel a tank. He duels a robot. Cute. Either way, that's a wide enough spectrum of datasheets that he's going to be pretty solid. And if you buff his melee profile whatsoever, he goes kind of crazy, right? Strength 8, AP 3 damage, 6 attacks. If you play him in like the charge detachment, he gets like sustained hits on the charge, which is great. You can buy him sustained hits in a bunch of different ways. You can give him hit rerolls. Like, it's just good. He's just good. He's just a good character. I don't know. He has a bunch of really good numbers and words on this data sheet. Which is nice. You know, it's nice to have. He ties up their legs with a whip like they're an AT-AT. Use your harpoon and tow cable, Lucius. He's also toughness 5. I'm now just realizing that's wild. I guess that's like the new sort of like the big 40 mil possessed kind of like stat line, right? They like Havocs have that too. Anyway, Lucius rules. Love that guy. Fulgrim. Less enthused about Fulgrim, chat, which I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be sad about, which fair enough. So first off, his top line profile is great. 16-inch move, holy shit, T11, 2+4+, with 16 wounds, OC6. No defensive abilities whatsoever until we get down to his Demon Primarch abilities, which means that this dude, he won't die. He gonna die real fast. And he's probably like 400-ish points, which is a lot. He does, however, Deep Strike, and he's fucking sick, like insane fast, because he can advance a charge all the time, because you're playing Emperor's Children. You could rapid ingress him, base move 16, he can like just wander around wherever he wants. So I think that he doesn't have great army support, but as a rapid ingress deep striking threat, I think he's actually great. He has a 12-inch range, whip ranged attack. It's 6 shots, strength 8, AP2, 2 damage. It's fine. Mostly it's there to like ping a unit and then apply his poison ability, which we'll talk about momentarily. And then he also has 2 melee weapons. His swords, he can either strike for strength 14, AP3, D6 plus 1 with 6 attacks, or sweep at 12 attacks with... These all have sustained hits, by the way. But they go to strength 8, AP2, 2 damage. He also then swings 6 times to the strength 6, AP1, 1 damage tail, which is kind of neither here nor there. So his attacks are good. I don't want to say they're great, but he just has like Bellacor's melee weapon, basically. I guess it's like lower AP, actually, so it's not even as good as Bellacor's melee weapon. Higher damage on the sweep attack, I guess, and sustained hits is theoretically better than lethal hits. But it's very similar, and if you've ever seen Be'lakor fight anybody, it's not that inspiring. So his melee profile is like fine. I think it's perfectly acceptable for what it is. After he attacks, however, in both the shooting phase and the fight phase, you choose one enemy unit that he hits and he poisons it. Then, in every subsequent command phase, you roll a d6, and on a 4+, that unit takes d3 mortal wounds. So he can be like wandering around the table and whipping units to apply this mortal wound effect on them. It doesn't matter what he hits. He could hit Titans, he could hit vehicles, he could hit infantry. All of them get the poison effect. So if he's like, he can get into melee, like you can envision a situation where he like pops in, whips a unit, kills half of them and applies poison, so they start taking additional damage. That can then bring them below half, so they have to take battle shock checks. Then charges into melee, kills a unit with his big attack, whips the extra attack tail into somebody else, and then poisons them too. And suddenly he's doing, on average, an additional 2 d3 mortals every round to your opponent's army. And that's cute. I don't want to say it's good, and it feels like a lot of text for not a very exciting ability, but it definitely is, it's something. And even if he like fails to kill you and you're left on 1 wound, right, there's a 50-50 chance that next turn you might just die anyway. So it's like good to have, and there's going to be situations where it comes up quite a bit, and it's interesting. But I think for the most part, Fulgrim's probably he's not a very like sustained attacker. He doesn't have very good defensive capacity, so he's going to be kind of a one-hit wonder if your opponent is set up to counterpunch him. In which case, I think that he's going to infect like maybe 3 units with this and then die. So I don't know. He also has his Demon Primarch abilities. One of them is -1 to be hit all the time. He just gets the Keeper of Secret rule. That's great. The other one is Fight First, which is also phenomenal. So both of those are pretty solid, depending on whether he's being shot at or he's fighting melee stuff. No notes there. Last one is Enthralling Hypnosis. It forces a leadership check if enemies want to fall back from him. If they fail the test, they must remain stationary. He doesn't impose any penalties or anything on it, though, so it's a little bit awkward. But there could be situations where your opponent gets locked in melee and he becomes hard to deal with. But it's probably not the one you're taking just because it's so random and it may have no effect. Doesn't Magnus deal more damage than on average? Yeah, Magnus is a different can of worms, right? I don't think it's fair to compare literally any unit in 40k to Magnus the Red, because Magnus the Red single-handedly holds up to the entire faction. Like, they wrote an entire index around specifically playing Magnus the Red. And Fulgrim definitely doesn't feel like an auto-include for Emperor's Children armies. Yes. Oh, yeah. Of course, the Primarch abilities take effect at your opponent's command phase, which is an interesting timing. I think it's the smartest timing. And again, one thing I really like about not only this codex but also all the more recent codexes is that they've gotten so smart with playing with the 10th edition mechanics, like core rules mechanics, that it feels really intelligent, right? Previously, these abilities would either trigger at the start of the battle round, so you would have to choose them before. You'd have to choose them, like, basically assuming that, like, you with no knowledge of what was going to go on during that battle round, or you wouldn't get them on the first turn. right? So like Roboute Gilliman's a good example, where he's like, I want to use my defensive, my aura to do free strats, and a defensive capacity to use Armor of Contempt. But he just can't do that on the first turn if your opponent goes first, because he chooses at the start of his turn. Whereas if he chose at the start of the battle round, you would have to prescribe what he was already doing. Because Fulgrim's abilities are mostly defensive, he doesn't have to choose at the start of the battle round, but he's always ensured to have them when his opponent's attacking him. The one time it might matter is if he's charging on turn 1. Then he's like not -1 to be hit or whatever, but I mean, whatever. How often is that going to happen? And also, does it really matter? Because then he's going to be -1 to hit immediately anyway, and he's probably just going to kill whatever he charges if it's turn 1. Looking at the datasheet now, understood how Dorn defeated him in a duel. Yeah. Yeah, you compare him to, like, Gilliman, and you're like, oh, boy. Oh, it's a different unit. Yeah, but he is much faster, and I don't know. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. Doesn't Angron deal more damage? Yeah, I think the direct comparison's Angron. And it's not, in fairness, like, it's not a good look for Fulgrim. I think Fulgrim is maybe... He feels very, like, Mortarian build, where he's, like, this big dude who can, like, your opponent has to deal with, but if he's too expensive, he's just not going to be worth the effort to kill. And he doesn't even necessarily have the same resilience that Mortarian has, so I don't know. Angron does more damage, is, like, a similar level of mobility. It does more damage and also regenerates himself, and Fulgrim doesn't do any of that, so... It's a little sad. I don't know. I think if the cost is right, I think you could definitely see Fulgrim get played. I think if he's too expensive, if he's like higher than 350 points, I think that it's like a really tough sell. To include this guy in the final cost, but we'll see. Maybe it's fine. I think Magnus will be turned down hard in the Thousand Suns Codex, yeah. And honestly, I hope he does, because the Codex is like literally just the Magnus show. Everything else in the Codex is dog shit and like overcosted trash. I don't want to say that. Like it does a lot of damage, but it's overcosted for what it does because everything's a glass cannon. And Magnus is the only thing that like actually keeps the faction even like one iota of competitive. And that's not a way you want to have a whole faction be designed. So hopefully the Thousand Suns does right by Thousand Suns. The new Codex does. In any case, there's other stuff in this faction besides just Fulgrim here, which is good because we got some cool stuff to talk about. 34-inch charge, yeah. Interestingly, it is a little bit like Angron, where you have to worry about him just like being in your deployment zone turn 1. He can definitely he can kind of like screen for the rest of your army getting into melee, which maybe it's just good enough. I don't know. Where he just like deploys kind of aggressively, and then like the Emperor's Children go first, and then he just like rockets into your deployment zone. If you play Mercurial Host, then he just auto 6 advances, which I think you can do on monsters, right? Oh, it's infantry only. No! Fulgrim, no! Why? How come you can do that on fucking Angron and shit and Lords of Skulls, but you can't do that on Angron, on Fulgrim, the fastest and most quicksilver of the Primarchs? I don't know, chance. Weird. A bunch of other characters to talk about, though. The Lord Exultant, bit of a melee guy. He has his +3 attacks, and you get +1 AP on your attacks once per battle. So it's like a little bit of a finest hour. He doesn't get +1 damage or devastating wounds, but the extra AP is definitely useful. And he's either doing that on a spear, which is a base AP 2 damage lance, or a fist, which is plus an additional strength but loses the lance, or a sword, which has precision. He can also take a if he elects not to take a lance, he can take a pistol, which is cute, which is a little blast, like a noise pistol, strength 5 AP, 1 2 damage, 3 shots, ignore cover. It's also kind of nice. Important to note too is that like basically every weapon in the Codex can be assault if they want them to, as long as they shoot individual targets, because of the army ability. So we just keep in mind that a lot of these little random weapons are gonna get used to. It's not like it's, it doesn't really matter. He can also replace his pistol with a lash, which is extra attacks. And it also benefits from his improved armor penetration characteristic once per turn. Damn, alright. So Spear and Lash definitely feels like the way to go. He gets a grand total of 12 between AP2 and AP3 melee attacks. He also gains Infiltrate and Scout 6 if he attaches to battle line units, I think to keep in line with the battle line units' abilities. Lord Exultant seems pretty okay. And he can attach into Infractors and Tormentors. Tormentors are their legionary equivalents who are reroll wound rolls, which is probably where you're going with these guys. Spear Fist. Yeah, I don't know. The choice doesn't feel quite as good as just like having a million extra attacks. Like I don't know. The Lash feels like so solid. 4 extra attacks is like a lot. That's quite a few. Interesting. It doesn't have a range profile. Feels like a Lash would have a range profile, but that's okay. He also gives his unit lethal hits, which is also good to have too, just in general. What a nice little guy. If he's not too expensive and you can spam these guys, that definitely makes the character-focused attachments a little bit more interesting. It's like 3 extra dead space elves, for sure. It's just a Legionnaire bolt into his offhand. That's so true. You just get an extra chainsword model in your unit with +1 weapon skill. Right? It's an extra chainsword in your unit who also gains probably +1 to hit and +1 AP. When you think of it that way, it's actually really strong. Alright, next up is Lord Cakophonist. This guy's a little interesting. He's kind of like a Terminator adjacent dude. He's a big heavy armor dude with a 2+ armor save. He gives his unit sustained ranged weapons, sustained hits 1. He has he can take potentially 2 Screamer pistols if he gives up his 6 attack power sword. So he can be shooting 6 times his strength 5 AP 1 2 damage with sustained hits, obviously. And then he gives your unit like a little kind of grenade effect. If you shoot an infantry unit after you shoot on a 4+, you roll 3d6 on a 4+, you take a mortal wound, and then take a battle shock test. If he attaches to Noise Marines, then the Noise Marines can also apply an additional -1 to hit as well. He also, I guess he attaches to Terminators, which is a little bit weird, because like the Terminators are very much a combined arms unit, but this guy is not a melee guy. I think that he is a... Hi, Katie. I think he is a almost exclusively Noise Marine caddy. That said, I imagine he's going to be kind of pricey. The 2+ save defensive profile tends to be like 90 to 100 points, and that is a little tough to swallow. So I don't know. I don't know about this guy. Also, no Deep Strike. Oh, that's true. He steals Deep Strike from your unit when he attaches to Terminators. Awkward. Yeah. I'm curious as to why he doesn't have like a stronger range profile himself. Like 6 attack, strength 5 AP 1 2 damage is like good, but it's not like great, you know what I mean? When you compare them to a lot of other like characters who are in that same sort of style, who are largely this range powerhouse, he feels like a little underpowered. I think seeing a guy holding 2 pistols, I expected a twin link somewhere in there. But not today, I guess. Yeah, also why give him such a lame power sword? Yeah. Why it's not even a 2 damage power sword. We couldn't even take the bad one that no one will play from the Lord Exultant. It's precision AP 2 damage. I guess because that's like not his purview, but it feels like in exchange he should have better shooting, but his shooting's kind of whatever. Yeah, this guy feels like a little bit of a miss to me. Maybe he's fine. But I don't know. GW is terrified of characters being good at shooting, yeah. And I understand why previously. Because they could be unshootable. But not they have to join units and you can just like shoot them back. Characters being good at shooting is probably fine. We got a little sorcerer. He's got a smite. I believe that it is exactly the same as the smite from the librarian, so that's cool. He gives his unit the benefit of cover when enemies are attacking them in your shooting phase. After he has shot, he can also select an infantry unit hit. They get -2 move and -2 to charge. So he's basically like a disc sorcerer out of Thousand Suns all by himself, which is nice. That's neat, I guess. But benefit of cover is like okay if you're playing some vehicle-focused game plans where oftentimes you're not actually in cover. But it's not a great ability. And he doesn't really have any synergy like with the units he's attaching with anyway. Like if he could get into a unit that had, I guess you know what you use him for is like if you play the character detachment, his unit can gain wound rerolls, and so you can have a unit like a devastating wound weapon with wound rerolls, which is actually kind of exciting. That feels like it's maybe a little bit more appropriate, but otherwise, I don't know. I don't know if I'm not excited about this dude's offensive profile. These ranged characters I feel like a little bit awkward. I don't know, a little underpowered. Yeah, not if you're Typhus. Well, technically, Typhus isn't a ranged attack. It's a special ability that inflicts D6 mortal wounds. Technically. You need a gun that's bigger than yourself. So true. Demon Prince of Slaanesh is next. So the Demon Prince profiles, I think, are actually really exciting. Otherwise, mostly the top line profile has just been the basic bitch kind of Demon Prince profile. The Slaanesh ones are move 10. They have the strength 8, AP2, 3 damage melee attack, and the shitty gun. The gun that's exactly in one half of the Lord Cacophony's pistols, I guess, but doesn't have ignore cover. He gains lone operative when he's within 3 inches of an infantry unit, so he has the kind of like Space Marine Bodyguard Gilliman ability, which is nice. He doesn't have the improved invulnerable saves that you can get out of the other Foot Demon Princes, but that's okay. Well, a friendly Slash unit is within 6 inches. If it made a charge move that turn, it gains +1 AP. So we can combo him out into some pretty impressive damage. That also stacks alongside the other demons. So like a Keeper of Secrets and this guy will make your like Demonettes AP3. Probably unnecessary on Demonettes, but pretty good on Fiends, I would imagine. He also has a Fight on Death on a 2+, which is kind of whatever. Pretty neat. The sort of middling melee profile is a little bit awkward. It is basically AP3 because he has a Slaanesh unit within 6 inches of himself, but the low strength is going to be a problem for these guys, I think. If you can source them any offensive buffs, it's going to be pretty good. The Winged Demon Prince doesn't have quite that same problem, though. This profile seems great, by the way. You okay, cat? You want to come visit? All right. Oh, come on up, kitty. Oh, here she is. Hello, baby. What's up? Meow. Yeah. You want to come say hi to chat? Yeah. Maybe? Oh, you want to hang out on the back of the chair? Yeah, I got this new chair that's flat on the back, so this is her new favorite spot. Just right there. Right there. Yep. Good girl. He can trigger his lone operative with Lucius. Yeah, for sure. He's kind of the same thing as that you can do with like the combi weapon lieutenant, which is cute. Although I feel like Lucius, this is Inky by the way, chat. Because I think for obvious reasons. It kind of feels like there she is. Hello. It kind of feels like Lucius wants to be in Flawless Blades quite a bit because they make his damage output so impressive. Yeah. Anyway, Winged Demon Princes. Speaking of horrors from the shadows, we'll talk about some Winged Demon Princes. This one is -1 to damage, which is good. So he's actually like reasonably difficult to kill. He also deals mortal wounds on the charge. So he has the I think the core Chaos Space Winged Demon Prince has this ability. When he ends a charge move, select an enemy within engagement range, roll a d6 for each of this model's remaining wounds. So if he's full wounds, and again, he's losing those wounds more slowly than other Demon Princes because he's -1 damage. If he's at full wounds, he's averaging 5 4-ups. For each of those, he deals a mortal wound. So his damage output is actually pretty impressive because he's only strength 8, AP 2, 3 damage, but he's going in doing 4 to 5 mortal wounds to begin with, which is like 2 converted attacks from the normal Demon Prince, which is if you equate that theoretical damage over to his weapon profile, he basically has like 10 or 12 attacks. Can't imagine not having cats around. Yeah, I know. It's cute. Cool. Yeah, I like this little cat. I've always had pets my whole life, so it's been nice to have a little friendo. We're best friends. So speaking of Flawless Blades, chat, let's talk about these guys, because I think these are going to be where a lot of kind of these, like, especially infantry synergies in the army come to a head, because they're pretty impressive. Here's the deal. They have only 3 attacks apiece, which is a little sad. Pink Meteor of Doom, indeed. I'm gonna like forced to slump in my chair because Inky's like slowly sliding down behind my back. Oh, there she goes. Where are you going? Oh, you're gonna scratch my chair out? Oh, that's fun. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So there are 3 weapon skill 2 attacks each. However, it's rank 6 AP 3 2 damage, so that's fine. The low attack volume and the damage is a little sad, because what these guys want to be doing is using their Demonic Patron's ability basically as often as they can. It gives them 3+ critical wounds. However, they have made a demonic pact. If no enemy models were destroyed by attacks made by models in this unit, it doesn't have to be a Flawless Blade, by the way. Could be another character or something. If no models were destroyed, 1 model in the Blades unit is destroyed. The chances of you killing literally nothing with this unit is very low. It's like when you go into a knight and you kick the shit out of it, but you don't necessarily don't kill it. Like, that's the times when you actually fail the pact. However, that's like, you know, in those situations, losing 1 guy for the opportunity to wound everything on 3s is pretty neat. They don't have any critical wound effects, but they do. A critical wound, it does just give you a wound. So they wound literally everything in the game on 3s or better. They're basically anti every keyword 3+, with an AP 3 melee weapon. In addition, this also affects any attached characters. So if you have Lucius the Eternal in this unit, he's bringing an additional 6 AP 3 damage attacks that are then also wounding on 3s. Plus, they're above average speed, right? Movement 8. You can improve that potentially with some additional movement buffs and advance and charge. So they go pretty fast if you can park them in a position where they can threaten the middle of the table. The damage output from this unit is pretty impressive. 10 dudes will lock them in combat. If you don't have a character, and even then, like, if they'll if you're T3 infantry, they'll just kill them, right? They're strength 6, AP 3. So even if you're a 4+ armor save T3 guy, they hit and wound on 2s and ignore your entire save. So they will just kill 10 guys. Like, this is not a unit that you want to stick into 20 orc boys. There are different units in the Codex to fight those things. But these are guys that you want to be, like, stabbing medium to heavy infantry or vehicles with. So, yeah, I think this unit, great. I think we'll see what the final points are for these guys. I think that a lot of the Codex is going to rest on whether or not these kind of solid vehicle killing like melee infantry are going to be costed appropriately enough. If they are inexpensive enough that you can just like windmill slam 18 of them, I think Emperor's Children are probably in an okay spot. But we'll see. We'll see how they do, especially if you can take them alongside like other more utility style units. These guys by themselves are not going to kill your whole army. They will kill the important stuff, and then as long as you have little 5-man units that can trade with the lighter stuff, then you're going to be in a good spot. Six averages 10 wounds into T3. I guess so, right? Well, they should drop 3 on the hit roll, assuming you have literally no buffs active, right? Which is already a little bit questionable. They drop 3 on the hit roll, so you're swinging 15 wound rolls, winning on 2s, and you should drop 3 more. Call it 3 more on a bad day. So you're killing 12 T3 infantry as long as they don't have better than a 4+ armor save. Pretty reliably. Like, you could underswing or whatever, but if you have literally any other buffs, there's like almost no way the unit survives. And even then, like the chat's saying, you can just fall back. You can fall back and charge, like it doesn't matter. I don't know. I think that this is a melee army, so that the criticism that it is like move blockable is also valid. There are ways to move through models, as we talked about, but again, I don't think that those are super relevant in a lot of situations. But that's just how melee armies in 9 and 10 40k work. Like, I don't know. World Leader's been dealing with that for years, and somehow they find a way. Chaos Spawn are the next thing. If you're T4 or more, what is a T4 1 wound 10-man unit? It's a very specific defensive profile that is not very common. I guess like Necrons have it. And even then, like, that's probably an actual unit that you're okay with just killing. I don't know. Like Votann? Well, Votann are T5, right? Yeah, like they might have a trouble killing 10 Hernkin Jaegers, chat. We found it. The answer to Flawless Blades is specifically Hernkin Jaegers. Yeah, I think the question is like movement blocking them more than it is like killing guys to pacting. But for sure, like, yeah, if you're not winning on 4s or better, you just don't pact for sure. You can just choose not to use the ability. Anyway, we've talked enough about Flawless Blades. I think that they are great. If their points are appropriate, I think that they're phenomenal. And maybe you disagree, but I don't know. Chaos Spawn, I also think are phenomenal. They're just Chaos Spawn that we all know and love. They don't heal, unlike the Chaos Space Marine Chaos Spawn. But look at this, chat. They found their OC value. They got it back. It was lost. They left it in their sock drawer, and but they did enough searching that they were able to find it. So these guys, Chaos Spawn, have specific, dramatically better Chaos Spawn than the Chaos Spawn in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. So get wrecked, Chaos Space Marine Chaos Spawn. In addition, they have a 6-inch reactive move. After an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move within 9. So these are, and 5+ feel no pain. So they're T5, 8 wounds for a unit of 2, with a 5+ feel no pain. So you're like 12-ish wounds. Maybe more if there's overkill damage. And they reactive move. It's like one of the best utility units in the game. Like, I don't know. And then move 10? Like, what? This unit is insane. And they're okay in melee, too. They're just incredible. They also have Thrill Seekers, so they can advance and charge. I don't know. Maybe they're really expensive. Maybe they're like 90 points or something. But even then, you might still take them anyway. They just seem phenomenal. I don't know what to say. It's just, look at all these words on the sheet. They're all good. Why do specifically Emperor's Children didn't get cultists? Oh, bad things happen to those cultists. The cultists were too traumatized to want to come to the battlefield in Emperor's Children army. Problem. That was the issue. Chaos Space Marine spawns versus World Eater spawns. Are these is hilarious? Yeah, the Chaos Space Marine spawns are so sad for sure. And still they get played sometimes. Yeah, this data sheet rules. What a fucking unit. Just to do actions, move super fast, screen enemies. You can like draw a turn 1 area denial, run the chaos spawn up, but if your opponent chose to come kill you, they just run away. Like, it's good, dude. What a unit. I love them. Put 3 of these in your army. And then we get the battle line guys. The Codex cover has a cultist on it? Does it really? I didn't even notice. Where'd that at? Oh, yeah. I think it's supposed to be a Demonette. Because it's got the Demonette claw, right? I think these are Demonettes, Jet. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're supposed to be Demonettes. But they have it's got the Crabby claw. The Grabby Crabby. It just has a really, like, weird, fucked up face. That's a weird... These almost look like AI generated. They're very bizarre looking. The cultist will be a kill team box? Yeah. Maybe. The claw is mechanical. Maybe you're right, actually. Yeah, it's got, like, wires and shit. Maybe it is a cultist. Well, maybe it got delayed and we'll get cultists later. Let's talk about some battle line units. Tormentors are they have infiltrate and objective secured. First of all, that's a phenomenal set of abilities. I don't have much else to say about that. You get infiltrate, like move 7 Space Marine profiles that can advance and do anything, and you can obsec the objectives in the center of the table. Sign me up, I guess. I don't know. They can have let's see, what do they get? They get 1 melta gun and 1 plasma gun for every 5 models in the unit. So you get 2 special weapons. And you can gain CP if you destroy units, which is probably not going to happen, but might as well try. Damn, alright. Okay, Tormentors, Jesus, calm down. This is just such a good battle line utility unit. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about it. It's just really good. They can take a lash, so the unit champion can have 6 melee attacks. Okay. 6 AP1 melee attacks. Sure. Why not, you know? Why not? Also, all their weapons have precision. Including their bolt pistols. I guess that's maybe so that you can destroy like characters in units more easily. Imagine somebody who's like gonna run up to this unit and be like, all right, I'll get like my you know, Tempester Prime is gonna be okay over here. And then the 1 melta-gun shot just kills him. Adorable. Yeah, I think these guys are you're taking some of these in your list for sure, just to hold down center objectives. I think you also kind of want to force the issue with your opponent. I think a lot of the gameplay of this army is going to be like setting up a position where your opponent has to respond to you on primary, and having it infiltrating objective secured is a really good way to do that. You can basically just be like, hey guys, I'm going to obsec the center objectives and then walk off of them. If you want to take them and stop me from just scoring passively for the rest of the game, you have to move into my threat range. And then you start trading with them. So these guys are probably a really important part of the combo. If you precision a character with a melting gun, that's a unit. Yes, indeed. If the character is composed of only that model, then yes. So like if it's a Space Marine captain, you'd get it, but if it's like a command squad or something, you would not. You have not yet destroyed a whole unit. Lots of words. So many words here, chat, for sure. Infractors are the next one. These are just Legionnaires, but they have 6-inch scout, so they're better than Legionnaires. Get fucked, Legionnaires. You suck. They also have a bunch of precision, I guess, so that they can try to get their Icon of Excess working. Everybody has dueling sabers, I suppose. No Power Fist is a little awkward in the unit, though. So we don't have like a good heavy melee weapon. We're kind of just like hoping that this, like maybe this Rapture Lash gets work done, but it does affect all models in the unit. So if you attach the fighty character, whose name I forgot, the Lord Exultant, then he's gonna also benefit from those wound rerolls with his 12 attacks that he has once per game. And as we discussed earlier, he also gains all of their deployment abilities. So he gets Scout and Infiltrate when he attaches to any of these units. So he's able to actually like come up with the army. Plus, you can put them in Rhinos for for Rhino stuff. Yeah, these seem great. I don't know. All the battle line units actually seem like total windmill slams. I think you're probably taking 2 to 3 units of these in your army anyway, just to clear utility stuff. So you don't have to engage with Flawless Blades in order to do that. Because you don't have super good range, like spot removal, but you do have fast scouting, full wound reroll infantry. Take triple pistol? Why? You can take plasma pistol, screamer pistol. What's the third pistol? Oh, he has a bolt pistol. Wait, he starts with 2 pistols? That's extremely funny. Why are people so hyped about 3 pistols? Because it's funny, chat. That's why. Like, where's he hold the third one? You don't want to know. That's a special Emperor's Children body modification that they don't talk about. In Bladesmen, with the Discord enhancement versus an enemy on an objective popping extra attacks, the unit kills a Land Raider. That's in Peerless Bladesmen. If you take Distortion. So he's +1 attack and damage character, so melee. So he has 4 2 damage melee attacks and 9 3 damage melee attacks that wound on 4s with rerolls. And you can get +1 AP. Jesus. So they go to AP 4? Holy shit. Yeah, you're right, chat. And with sustained hits? Fuck. Alright. That's pretty good. You can have a shootout with a Kellermorph with the 3 pistols. Yeah. You might win that one, too. And one of those pistols shoots 3 times for 2 damage. The extra attacks get +1 to wound? No. Only the lance has lance. You don't get +1 to wound on your non-lance weapons. So the extra attacks are wounding on 6s, probably. But they're still, like, rerolling wound rolls anyway, so not that big of a deal. Chaos Terminators also got a new data sheet. It doesn't seem that great to me, though. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I was gonna say maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think that's the case. These just seem kind of whatever. They get to reroll charges if they shoot every single ranged weapon at a single target. You can then get reroll charges against your target. And I was reading that, and I was like cocking my head, because I was like, well, yeah, you'd need it, because if all your entire Chaos Terminator unit with all your Reaper autocannons is shooting the same unit, then you're going to need reroll charges, because they're going to kill the models that you're going to charge. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Terminator's bad. Let's move on. We can talk about cooler datasheets, like Noisy Boys. Both the lash and lance will get +1 damage. Right. But not +1 to wound. Only the lance gets +1 to wound. Because it has lance. The whip doesn't have lance. But the lash also gains the +1 AP, which is why it's AP2. From the once per game ability. What it doesn't get is the bonus attacks. You only need to shoot with 1 bolter. Right, but then, like, why are we even taking Terminators? Like, so, like, well, you can't modify the attacks characteristic of the Lash, but you can modify its other stats, right? Unless I'm wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain that it's only the attacks characteristic that can't be changed. But if I'm wrong, somebody can fact check me. So, like, yeah, I don't know. We could just be taking Flawless Blades, right, on this unit? Like, why are we worrying about Terminators if we're not taking Reaper autocannons and stuff? And this ability only triggers if literally every single attack targets the same enemy. So you could be like, I'm only going to shoot 1 bolter, so my charge is better. But then, like, why? Why are we playing this unit if they're only shooting 1 bolter and giving up all of their special weapons? Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a very well thought out ability. Terminators are tankier than Flawless Blades? I mean, I guess so, but they're not that tanky. Noisy Boys. Let's talk about these guys. So this is an interesting unit. They are, they basically, I mean, it's a ground up redesign from the old Noise Marine unit. And it's pretty interesting. Previously, they were just basically legionaries that had a special heavy weapon, which was the Blastmaster weapon, which was really good. Now, they are a dedicated, like, shooting platform. And they have a pretty wild offensive profile. So, they have up to 2 Blastmasters in the unit, which you're, I think, basically always going to take. I think you are just always going to take them. I don't think you're ever not going to take 2 Blastmasters. So they're firing... At the high single frequency, they're firing 6 strength 10 AP2 3 damage gunshots, and then they have 4 sonic blasters, so they're firing another 12 strength 5 AP1 2 damage, and all of it ignores cover, which I think is the important part. So it can all punch through like pretty reasonable armor saves. So these guys are like really good kind of medium infantry killers. The downside is that they do it from 18 inches away, which is, I think, where the rub is gonna come in. You can also use them to like sweep lighter stuff too. I guess they shoot 12 strength 6 AP2 if they're shooting the multi-shot profile on the Blastmasters. And the other thing to keep in mind is that most stuff that benefits your attacks in the faction, so a lot of the like wound rerolls and things, affect all of your attacks. So they will also affect your ranged attacks. So, for example, if they're led by a character and they're your like favored champion, they're going to get wound rerolls and shooting as well, which is kind of exciting. Too bad you can't run 6 of them. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I guess like the open question is how good they are. Is how efficient they are, I should say, at like clipping through heavier targets. Because it's only 6 3 damage ranged attacks. And if the unit is like pretty expensive, right? If they're like 160 plus points, which feels like where they're going to end up, right? That's like That's like 28 points a model or so. Feels to me like they're probably going to have a tough time like killing T11 plus, right? Because then you're just like fishing for a bunch of 5s to wound. Maybe that's fine. And I think the idea is that these guys are going to like spot remove your lighter stuff so that you can open the way for like the flawless blades and things to go in afterwards. So maybe we're putting too much pressure on the noisy boys to do a ton of damage, where their actual role is to just like act as kind of infantry sweepers, which is maybe fine, and that doesn't necessitate that you commit your melee stuff to the fight. And on the turn where you're like overcommitting your army, right, the go turn, you can just dump all your noise marines out and they all just shoot stuff and like tank. They're also T5 as well. They have the Havoc profile. Only a 3+ save though, which is a little bit easy to kill, but that's not the end of the world. Havocs are T5. Yeah, Havocs were T5 like back in the day because they have like beefier armor basically. And they have like their weird like feats. They got weird feats, which apparently give them +1 toughness, but that's how they've been for like 2 editions, I think, at this point. Yeah, the 18-inch range isn't good. They can advance and shoot. It's important to note because of the army ability if they jump through the hoops. And I wonder if we're like looking for transport options for these guys to mitigate that range. But I think that the threat range at which this army wants to engage you, it doesn't feel like 18-inch range is going to be huge. I think that what we have to do is like get out of the mindset that these are the old noise marines where they would just fire at you from 36 inches away and like they would just expose one blastmaster and just like fucking rip into you with the like one huge super gun. These guys are more of like they're like flash gits, right? Like almost exactly. They have like the same weapon. And I think you want to use them in that kind of capacity. Mad Max guitar truck vibes. I mean, after they literally like they made the Noise Marine fucking guitar truck guy, right? This little where's that fucking guy at? This little guy. It's like, you know, Corporate asked me to find the difference between these two pictures, and they're the same picture. Wow. Rhino text for sure. Yeah. Question is, do you put the Lord Cacophonist in the unit to get 6 more shots and sustained hits? Probably not, but maybe. I think, man, it feels like they missed on the special ability, though. They really want you to put a Lord Cacophonist into the unit, but like they have the wrong end of the ability. It feels like, like they improve slightly his mortal wound effect, but the ability on its own doesn't do anything. It just makes your opponent's battle shock checks harder to pass. But if you're not forcing battle shock checks, it doesn't really affect them at all. It's a weird ability. I don't know. Feels like they wanted to do something else, but it is what it is. Heldrake is the next one. It has a bombing run effect. It's a Heldrake. It has the Heldrake like stat line. If it moves over an enemy unit, it can do a D3 mortal wounds to them, maybe. I guess it advances and charges. That's cute, right? I don't know. He's a Heldrake. Some people find a way to make him work in War Leaders, but man, does it feel like not the way in other factions. Maulerfiend is, I think, actually kind of sick. Advancing and charging on a Maulerfiend is cool. It's only move 10, which is a little bit awkward, but with advance and charge, you can probably get into melee, and then it gains +1 to hit if it's below starting strength, +1 to wound if it's below half. So it has Grim Determination from Deathcore of Krieg. Basically just exactly. So you can actually hit pretty hard. The AP value is low, but there are a million ways to gain AP buffs in this faction. Not the least of which is just having a Demon Prince. So I actually think the Maulerfiend is like probably pretty neat. The +1 to hit and wound also affects its other weapons. So if you take the extra attacks weapons, it can also be like winning with a bunch of potentially like AP2 Lasher Tendril attacks that win on 4s. Even into vehicles and stuff. I think I like this guy. I guess the question is if we can find a way to damage him before the game begins, but I don't know if there's a. I don't think there's a way without losing them and having them explode. The Emperor's Children Heldrake is a much better stat line. Is it? Is his stat line different at all from the other Heldrakes? I guess maybe I am not familiar enough with the Heldrake stat line. What is the Chaos Space Marine one? Go. Heldrake. Go. Oh, it's a higher toughness and wounds. Oh, it's a 2+ save too. Oh, you're right. Yeah, actually, all of the numbers are bigger. Oh, worse leadership. Weird. We traded for leadership apparently. It doesn't gain +1 to hit against flying stuff though, so it's anti-fly devastating attacks are less consistent. Wild. What a time. Oh, thanks for the follow over on Twitch, Mo. I appreciate that. We were live yesterday playing 36 artillery pieces. Oh boy, is that an army. Not good, but definitely something. You're right, chat. Heldrake good. Maybe. Interestingly, I think this is the first time that we have a unique Rhino ability. I'm sure somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all the other Rhinos in the game just have like the self-repair. This one is an assault vehicle. You can advance it and disembark stuff, and then they count as having made a normal move and can't charge. So that's neat, right? That's pretty cool. They're updating stats for 11th. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think that they also just recognize that there are Datasheets that are really bad, and that they will slowly update them as things go. Not the first time that codexes have had multiple different profiles for the same unit. That's kind of been the case for 40k for ages. And there are, of course, still 2 Heldrake datasheets that remain unreleased, right? So those will probably get updated to a new profile anyway. Chaos Rhino is now a better impulsor. Downside is that, so it can carry any infantry. So it can carry Noise Marines, 2 Noise Marine units if it wants to, up to 12 models, but it cannot carry Flawless Blades, which is unfortunate. But I imagine that was maybe a little bit too easy. Is if you could like windmill slam Flawless Blades in Rhinos, that was just how every army started. But the ability to advance these things super far and then jump out a Noise Marine unit, or even 2, and then blast away does feel good, for sure. This is the first time in 10th that a fiber has been improved? I don't think so. I'm sure that there have been other instances. I don't remember them off the top of my head. And then that's it. I think we missed the Land Raider. Hey, do I not have a Land Raider datasheet? Is there one in the Codex? Somebody fact check me, because I think there's a unit list. I think flyers have been improved kind of like tangentially in the past. It's separate on Reddit. Let me see if I can find it. I didn't see it. I got this from the big gallery, so is there... Oh, God. I can't find it, chat. It is on the list, though, right? Yeah, Chaos Land Raider is like the first one. Is it the same as all the other Land Raiders? I guess it's easy to talk about if it is. Given that it was in the artwork, I just assumed there was one there, but I didn't actually check the file. This Land Raider holds 14? Oh, okay. Well, that's neat. So you can hold 6 Flawless and Lucius. Cool. Well, that's good to know. All right, well, I guess that's probably all the information that we really need. I think having Land Raiders is going to be important. This feels like a little bit of a, I don't know. Army feels kind of like Custodes almost. Where I imagine that the individual infantry units are going to be kind of expensive. But having a unit with a gun that can transport them is going to be a big deal. So it does feel a very Land Raider pilled. But otherwise, it does. I think you're in on like a couple of rhinos with the scout guys. I imagine you're in for like 2 of the infiltrate guy units. And then the rest of your list is probably Flawless Blades and Characters and Noise Marines. Probably like 2 units of Noise Marines and then like some Flawless Blades. And I imagine it seems kind of spicy. The little fighty character guys feel pretty solid. Now, I believe that the only thing that can attach into the Flawless Blades is Lucius, right? So maybe we're not spamming them quite as much, and we're trying to make the other little units work. Although the Demon Princes, like following them up and buffing them is pretty similar, I guess. If you can get 18 attacks at AP 4 that win everything on 3s is actually kind of sick. Land Raider's the only ranged anti-tank? Yeah, besides like just mass Blastmasters, I guess. But even then, it's not that exciting. And I think these winged Demon Princes, we'll see how many points they are, right? What the final points are gonna mean a lot. But having deep strikers, like having like good forward operation, because it feels like the army has well above average like forward operators and utility stuff. And then being able to follow that up with having like good backline deep strikers. I think the idea is that you like push your opponent to come fight you and then kind of trade up into it. Which, I don't know, seems pretty neat. I think it's certainly a different game plan than like all-out aggression from World Eaters. Whether or not it's better, I guess, is the open question. It's definitely seems like it's more work, but I think that's probably appropriate. At least they have dedicated range to guys, even if they're only 18-inch range. Blades are 260 in the book. Yeah, I hope that's what for 6 bottles. That's like 40 something, right? 40 points for 6 would be 240. So it's like 44 points, 43 points. That's too many points. There's no way. I think that they're like mid 30s, so like point unit, 35 points or something. Because they have they have 2+, 5+ involved, right? But they're not hard to kill. And there's only like very limited access to defensive stats in the unit. Oh, there are 3+, excuse me. They're 3+. They're just higher toughness value. So they're 3+, 5+, so they're just going to vaporize on the crackback. So, I think just being like an all-out offensive unit, they do need to be somewhere in the between 30 and 40 point range. Being 40+ is too many. That's why Terminators are tankier? Yeah, but the Terminators, like, don't do anything, alright? It's like the... That's the perennial problem. Maybe they're way cheaper, and it's fine. You can have one set of Periticur's weapons, 3 Power Fists. So it's the same weapon profile, but they're 1 less AP and don't have critical 3s. So they're also probably -2 to wound most high toughness targets. And give them +1 save, which is a little sad. And the downside, like the flip is that you can give them a gun, but that only really, which is like I guess like it's fine. You don't necessarily need to use their ability. They're also move 6 Terminators, so maybe it's okay. But the only attachment for them is the fucking Kakophonist guy who has like a bad melee profile. We need a Terminator Lord. Like, where's that dude at? How come Death Guard get, like, 7? And this faction has only this guy. That's a little strange. $220 is the price you pay for the blades? That's probably, reasonable. $130 for 3 that goes to the same points as 8-bound? I believe so. But, like, the 8-bound are way better. Like, as good as I think the Flawless Blades are, I am not silly enough to say that I think that they're better than fucking, like, 8-bound. 8-bound and Exulted are so, like, just, preemptive melee units in the whole game, so I don't think it's a fair comparison. They aren't even necessarily faster than them. And they aren't even necessarily harder to kill because they don't have Blessings of Corn. So, it's like, I don't know. Protect the Blades and Leashes of the Land Raider? Probably. I think there's a lot of optimization to think on, but I wouldn't. I think that that's a fine inclusion for sure. I wish they deep struck. That would like clinch it for me. I think these guys would be really sweet if they deep struck. I think that'd be neat if you could rapid ingress them and do some rapid ingress plays. But they have to rapid ingress off the side, which is really awkward. At least they advance out of the ingress, so it's easy to get like weird like side charges onto people and stuff. But it is a little bit more difficult than it would be for a similar unit. Anyway, chat, I think that is going to be all she wrote for the Emperor's Children Codex. I'm excited for this one. I think that there's some really cool stuff in here. Like I mentioned at the top, I think that some of the flavor of this faction is sick. I'm a little disappointed with Fulgrim. As a big fan of giant stompy monsters, Fulgrim seems like a little slithery monster who needs to be not super too expensive for what he has. But maybe the ability to fight first is like I'm not giving enough credit. I don't know. I can't decide. But otherwise, yeah, I'm excited to see how this faction rocks out. I do hope that the points see a little bit of an update from what they are in the Codex, because it does feel a little overcosted. But that being said, can't leave till I review Imperial Knights Codex. Ooh, that might be a while. Are they even getting one? Who knows? But with that, chat, I'm going to go ahead and leave you all to it. If you stick around here, it's going to push you to the 8TC stream event. I'm going to be live there on Friday through Sunday. That's an 8-player team event over in Tennessee. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, crack of dawn, to get over there. So I hope everyone comes and joins and hangs out, because it's going to be a lot of work to stream that one, and hopefully it goes well. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, chats, I'm going to go ahead and pop off. Thanks, everyone, for watching and hanging out with me. I will see you this weekend. Remember, keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming. And don't forget to be a child of the Emperor and stuff, or whatever, and things. I don't know.